Enter the imagination of Atari. The imagination that brings you the world's most popular video games, like Jungle Hunt, where you have to swing from vine to vine to save the girl from cannibals. And Dig Dug, where you make your own maze, then have to deal with it. And Pole Position, where Grand Prix racing comes to dizzying life. Experience the challenges and the thrills that come only from the imagination of Atari.
We're here, you're here. Hello.
Welcome back to another exciting adventures with Dion and Blake.
We're back live, going all night long, partying until you can't stop. We are live.
Before we get started.
Yeah. We're going to stop this thing.
Hold on.
This tracks. Hold on. Stop the music. Stop the music, everybody.
I did a recent visit home.
Ooh.
And I uncovered...
Everyone's putting our fingers out.
And I uncovered some sleepover gold, one of which I posted a couple weeks ago.
You did.
On the thing with some wrestling videos.
Yeah, it was the best of Piper's Pit.
It was best of Piper and a Razor Ramon video.
Yeah, two separate things, but
so I brought some of it home.
Okay,
I brought it back to
from
back
your
to
old
the
home.
city.
You brought it to where you're living now.
And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be unveiling some of these things to Dion.
Wow.
Some will be gifts, some will just be show and tell. This one is a gift.
Okay. And we're doing it now?
Unfortunately, it's a visual thing, but maybe we can post a picture.
Okay. Holy crap. This is it.
That's a gift. That's for you, buddy.
This is the thing I described in the Batman.
I know, and somebody sent us a picture of it.
It's
like the pamphlet.
This is the pamphlet they gave out opening night of the Batman that we talked about. I talked about the Batman
it's got
cast.
all like the shirts and the...
One side, it's like all the Batman memorabilia with the Batcave, the toys, and you have Bob Kane wearing like an awesome leather jacket, and then on the back, it's
Heather
like
logging camp and a nice bicycle outfit.
Yeah, with a sweet ass Batman shirt. Then we have previews for Lethal Weapon 2 and Young Einstein. I'm going to say Young Frankenstein. Wow. Thank you so much. Jeez, I'm just going to be getting like every week. I'm like, wow, I feel uncomfortable. That's great. That's so funny. We talked about this and somebody tried to find it.
Somebody like sent us a picture of it, I think, on Facebook.
Yeah, they knew of it or something. Wow. Whatever happened to Young Einstein? I never saw that. Did you?
You know what? I don't know if I did.
Yeah, that kind of came and went.
It's like that and Drop Dead Fred, kind of like the same movie in my head.
I've seen Drop Dead Fred. That's a great movie. That's with the guy from Bottom, the TV show, British TV show. But thank you very much. Anyway,
so that's the first show and tell or gift from 1980, back from the 80s.
I hope you don't start showing me parts of women. Like, look what I found. This is our finger.
It'll be sleepover gold from the 80s and 90s memorabilia.
Wow. Should I be worried about you? They always say when you start giving stuff away. Maybe.
I found like 3 of those.
How many times did you go see it in the theater?
At least twice.
Yeah, I saw it twice, too.
But I did see it open.
Once in the Lake George area. I saw it up in Lake George. I saw that the second time. Wow, that's great. Thank you so much.
So there we go.
I'm going to frame that thing. My wife's like, I don't want to put that up. Come on, it was a gift.
We'll do a fake Bob Kane autograph on it.
Yeah, no one will know that. No, that's horrible. Because all the stuff we have is real. We don't have fake stuff. That makes it geez, we're already loopy tonight.
Yeah, it's late.
It's a late Saturday night. It was a long movie, too. It was like 6 hours.
And it wasn't the most exciting movie.
No, it's got a lot of plot.
It's a personal favorite of mine. We're stepping, it's a little bit outside the sleepover norm, but, it's in commemoration of yet another Tarzan movie coming out.
This weekend.
We decided to revisit a classic 1984 adaptation and a personal favorite film of mine.
Yeah, and it's also cited as being one of the most somewhat faithful to first extent as opposed to stuff that came out before it. Off its source material.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that.
Yeah, we're doing
it's a long title.
Yeah.
Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes.
Circa 1984. Yeah.
Starring Christopher Lambert, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
Christopher Lambert, as everybody else likes to call him.
It's
directed by Hugh Hudson.
Yeah.
Who was fresh off of Chariots of Fire fame.
And what do you call it? It's his first
starring
Lambert, yeah. Also English speaking.
Yeah, he was He had been in he had smaller parts or supporting parts in some smaller French films, but this is his first like starring role, also in English.
Little do we know that we have a aficionado.
I am
Blake. Absolutely. Oh, welcome. Did we say welcome?
Well,
Saturday Night Movie Sleepover. We did.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. I'm Dion. That's Blake.
I'm Blake. I am also one of the world's largest Christopher Lambert fans.
Do you have any memorabilia? Do you have an autograph? I would think you have up on your wall.
I don't have any Lambert memorabilia, but you know what I almost ended up with?
See, I knew there'd be a story here.
We back when we did Harry and the Hendersons.
Okay,
so we talked a lot about Dick Smith. Not Dick
about
Smith.
a year ago.
Rick Baker.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about Rick Baker, and
we did a cast on freaking Gremlins, and then we never even brought up our the point we did the cast.
Yeah.
And you bought a bust of the Gremlins,
and I bought a maquette from Gremlins 2, like a Gremlin head.
Yeah.
From Rick Baker's workshop for when they did Gremlins 2. One of the items that I almost won, and it was one of those things where I'm sure everybody, probably most people, not to the extent of like money, I almost fucking blew on this stuff. But on eBay and stuff, sometimes you bid on something and then you realize that you're going to win. You're like, oh man, I hope I don't win this.
You're getting buyer's remorse before you even paid for it. You're like, oh no, this may not be the best idea I ever had.
Yeah, I bought exactly. So when I bought that Gremlin head, the Gremlin maquette,
which is big. It's a sizable bust.
It's like a full
clay
size.
It's a original clay rendering that hadn't even been fired. And in a
soft
in a kiln. So it's you gotta watch out. It could break off and it's a whole other story. We talked about it we did a Gremlins cast. Didn't even bring it up. And then the next cast we did, which might have been our Rocky cast, which may have been New Year's.
Yeah.
Or New Year's.
Oh, yeah.
Then we had to start the cast out by explaining the reason why and that was, if you want to go hear about what happened, because it got damaged in shipping, and there was this whole big rigmarole, and you talk a little about the auction itself, the Rick Baker auction. It had that great Rondo Hatton bust.
Yeah.
Beautiful
stuff. There's still
stuff
over on that. I think
Rocketeer?
it's Prop Store. They're still like every week still auctioning off more Rick Baker stuff.
That's a shame. And you said the only reason why he did it was because he was
like retiring.
Because he can't get work.
There's not enough work for what he does to sustain like a whole business.
And this is a good conversation to get into this movie because Rick Baker ended up doing
the Apes.
He did all the Apes on this movie.
That's what this story is about.
Yeah.
So the one thing I almost ended up buying was like a full
you told me this.
ape suit and mask for like a stunt, like the stunt mask, not an articulated one.
And you didn't really think about the comfortability level having this thing.
Yeah, it was. So it would have been having like a stuffed chimpanzee,
a very realistic looking,
like in the corner of my room. It was a full suit, like on like a small like mannequin.
It was like, on a mannequin. It wasn't just a suit.
No, it was going to come on a mannequin.
Oh my gosh, that's a horror movie right there.
And because the reason why I really
starts
wanted
moving
it,
on you,
and the reason why I really wanted it is because I love this movie. So
and it was from this movie. Oh, okay. It wasn't
it was from. It
wasn't Gorillas in the Mist or anything else.
No, it was from Great. I mean, one of the things was Rick Baker's known for his apes and stuff. So you wanna,
of course,
you would want to get something ape related, even if it was like the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. It would still be.
I love that. I thought that was really.
It'd still be kind of cool, but this was like from Greystoke.
Yeah.
So it was like
that much sweeter.
I almost got it. And it was the kind of thing where like I had bid on it because they were expecting it. When you bid on stuff from like an auction, they give you like the estimated price that they think it's going to go for.
Yeah.
Like,
the appraisal value.
X amount of dollars to X amount of dollars. And so I put, not even close to what they were expecting. And I was like, I came down to almost winning it like split second right before they brought down the gavel on my bid. Somebody else put in a higher bid, but I almost ended up with this human, like this life-size monkey costume.
How crazy would that be? I mean, even the thing you have now, the bust is, gosh, it's huge.
I know.
It takes up a corner of your living room.
At the end of the day, I probably would have been like, oh, I can't believe I bought that. What the hell am I going to do with it? But then once it came, I would have been like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Dion, coming over. We'll put on the suit.
We had a joke. That reminds me of the joke we had where we watched some magic. Remember we watched some magic in college. We watched some magic show, and there was like the debunking show. And they showed you how it was the guy, like he puts the
magic's greatest secret.
Yeah, he puts the mask on, and then like it's like this a-hole shows you how to do everything. And all the the magicians really hate him and all this kind of thing. Penn and Teller hate him. of them, but they show you how to get out of, remember, an old-fashioned straitjacket. So what you and I were looking to do was we were gonna buy an old-fashioned straitjacket, get me to figure out how to do the trick, and then we go over to like keg parties. Remember that? We were gonna hustle. We were gonna get everybody drunk with them, and then we were gonna, as like it was an act, we were gonna hustle them and say like, "Do you think Dion can get out of this?" You know, and then I would actually get out of it.
Remember when we almost bought? We came pretty damn close to buying that
alien,
that life-size alien.
That was our
freshman
freshman year living together in the dorms. We met each other the first day in orientation.
Was that in a catalog?
No, that was. I think it was right around the time that they had released that Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, the Frakes, yeah.
The which was absurd even at the time when we saw it. It was the fake autopsy of like one of the Roswell.
Like Stan Winston looking at the tape.
Yeah,
and like, look how they pulled the skin back.
He's saying like how realistic it is, and clearly it's just like a sepia tone filter they put on it. It's like, this isn't real, and it was debunked, and which is hilarious. But I think it was around that time, and they're like, and you too can own a piece of history. Robert Stack came out, if you want to order your own thing. So it was this. So we lived in a room. I don't know how big that room was. It was like, say, like, I don't know, 14 feet by like maybe 8 feet, maybe even width. So we could fit 2 beds in, or maybe 10 feet.
10, yeah, maybe 10.
And my bed was on one side, Blake was on the other, and then we had like near the window we had like an like one of the cabinets where you put your clothes in. We had the TV, little tube TV up there. And we're watching this thing, so we're thinking like, oh, between us we can buy this coffee table. We were going to buy this thing and use it as a coffee table. And basically what it was an alien body, life size. So it was like 4 feet long, the body, enclosed in a glass. Like sarcophagus. Was it glass or was it one of those?
It was probably like plexiglass.
Yeah, you could see the whole thing, but it looked like a sarcophagus.
Yeah. It was like you could buy it without. My recollection is you could buy
two options.
You could buy it like without the glass case.
I don't know why you do
or
that.
with the glass case.
Yeah.
And we were gonna buy it and put it between the beds.
Great conversation starter when we brought the ladies over.
Put our beers on top of it while we watched TV.
Have no room for legs or get to get up and stuff because it'd be like putting a third bed in the room, you know. They're like, hey, ladies, look at this thing. You guys like aliens? You want to see something really scary?
We came close on that one.
We came close to a lot of them. Remember the times
dodged a bullet. School
we're gonna buy
Which
those?
one of us is taking the alien?
I don't know. You want to just keep it a summer and then I'll keep it a summer. And we've almost bought knife sets together. You know, like 3 a.m. when you're watching those.
That's back when they used to have those knife channel.
Yeah, for
$300.
Yeah, you buy you get 10,000 knives.
1,000 knives.
And then we were going to turn around and go to tag sales and try to sell knives at the flea markets.
Become the underground knife salesman on campus.
And we can service the Foot Clan.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They must have bought a whole bunch of.
Well, anyway, so yeah, knives. I almost owned a little piece of Greystoke.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of regret that.
But they have I guess you got to. Then also, which just goes back to everyone would have to go listen to the Rocky Cast, is that they don't talk to you about shipping thing. That was the whole big
Gremlin
contention.
Cost like $500 to ship,
and that's the story where it's like they don't tell you. So there's like a little asterisk that just says shipping will be determined later on. And it's like,
basically.
And so can you imagine how much like a life size?
Plus, there's like 25% fees on top of it. So say that I bought the thing, just throwing out a number. Say I bought it for $1,000.
The monkey suit.
The monkey suit. Say the winning bid was $1,000. Then I'd have to pay another
$250, right?
$250 on top of that in fees.
That's
$1,250.
So they're getting their cut. The auction house.
Yeah. And then whatever, $500 to ship it. So I mean,
I think it would have been more because of it's life size. I mean, like carrying like a live monkey.
It wouldn't have been as fragile as the gremlin head. So it probably would have taken less packing. Anyway,
and I wonder what condition it would have been in too. Did you see close-ups? Like, was it all, since it's almost 30 years ago? Probably is 30 years ago when it happened. So is it all like cracked and, you know what I mean?
Well, the stunt stuff, the stunt masks have lasted longer because they're not as. I don't think they're as. So I don't think they're like the foam latex.
Yeah.
The stuff like the articulated faces. They don't last as long because the foam latex deteriorates.
Cracks and stuff. That's what happens with Sesame Street. They have to go through puppets very quickly because you get cracks and weathering.
So
yeah,
I mean it's all fragile. I mean the thing is.
But you can wear it, so
30.
it's just, yeah.
I could have worn it. I wouldn't have fit into it.
How hilarious would that have been?
Mike probably would have fit into it.
Oh, our friend Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd been hilarious having him do like a costume, like, dude, just it's like the side. That's what you see like on on those shows, you can have like bloopers with people like like on the sidewalks and all that. Jeez.
Well, anyway, so I almost spent a lot of money, almost owned this thing because this movie, because Greystoke has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I remember my dad taking us to see it.
Wow.
Circa 1984. So I was 6.
You were 34 at the time.
So it was like, I remember him seeing it, and then I was like way into Tarzan for
Yeah.
a while. And I'll run around the house.
Annoying the shit out of your family. Oh, Jesus.
I was Tarzan for the next week.
Yeah, jumping off of things. Your mother must have loved that.
So, I mean, that's this movie, and then I remember that we rented Highlander in the 80s. Like, I remember renting that. So those two movies, those childhood memories,
Solidified your...
are what made me a Lambert lover.
And what is he, French, or is he...
Well, he grew up, I think, entirely in France, but he's really like Swiss or something. His dad was like a diplomat for the United Nations or something, but he grew up in France. And then when he was a teenager, he moved to Paris and I think did some modeling and then pursued some acting. And he was actually found for this film. For Greystoke, they looked, around the world to try to find the right person for it.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to get away from like the muscle man,
like a Schwarzenegger
look, that like the earlier Tarzan films had like a big bulky guy, which makes sense. I mean, if you're supporting your own weight like on trees and stuff, you probably put on some good muscle mass. But they wanted like a swimmer's physique for it, so they were looking, and they think they found him in like in a French dance studio. They found him and they cast him. And to be honest, I think it's this is maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but I think it's by far his best performance in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think he's genuinely really great in this movie.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you can say that about a lot of Christopher Lambert.
I don't know.
I don't think he has a lot to do in a lot of movies. Whereas this, for like a first
for him
starring
being able
role,
to,
there's a lot to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of, especially like internal stuff. For
a
him,
lot of
like internal
performance.
eyes and all that. I was trying to figure out how many movies of his I've seen. Like I've seen that Alcatraz 2000 or what's the one?
Mean Guns.
Is he in Mean Guns?
Yeah, it actually was just on earlier today.
I haven't seen Mean Guns since we watched it together. That's another story we had. We watched watching Mean Guns. He's in that, and then he's in what's that crazy? It's like a 7-ish kind of movie. He's in that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's actually not bad.
It's like it's the best of like the 7 ripoffs. What is that movie called? Because Cronenberg's in it. He plays a priest.
There's a bunch of people in that movie.
I believe Lambert actually wrote that movie, and Cronenberg's in it, and I think Russell Mulcahy might have directed it, who also directed Highlander.
Oh, okay.
So there's
the connection.
That connection. But I think he actually wrote that one.
That's a good movie.
And yeah, we should look that up because we'll
get somebody on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
know everything about it except for that.
And oddly enough, I don't think I've seen the first Highlander in years. And then I saw, I don't know how many of those. They all turn into one movie for me. I saw the one with Mario Van Peebles. Isn't he in one of them?
He's in the third one.
Yeah. And then did they make one after that?
Yeah, Endgame came after that, which was like a crossover between the movie and the TV show.
Oh, so you had the guy in it,
which is actually pretty good.
Yeah. I like him as an actor. That guy.
Yeah.
What's his name? The Clan MacLeod, is it?
Well, they're both MacLeods, but they're different years, I think.
Yeah, that's something to do on this. That'd be fun.
Well, I would love to do Highlander or any of them. Really, any of the second one, The Quickening, is kind of crazy. I would do that.
Is Connery in?
He's in the second one. Resurrection is the name of that 7 ripoff.
Okay. And it's actually quite good, but it has that whole look at the time, like the 7-ish kind of a thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's let's say an homage. It really was kind of like, when 7 came, like a lot of movies when Pulp Fiction came out.
Yeah, everybody started doing those
kind of like
comedy
things. And when 7 came out, came a bunch of kind of 70 ripoffs. In my opinion, that's one of the better ones.
Yeah. So Lambert, he does a fine job in here, but so Tarzan, 1984, directed by what's his name here, Hugh Hudson.
Yeah, Hugh Hudson comes off. He's coming off of Chariots of Fire, which was not a huge financial success, but it won 4 Academy Awards. It won Best Costumes, Best Script, Best Music by Vangelis, because it is kind of like an iconic score. And I think it won Best Film also.
Yeah.
So
what is that, 83, 82?
That was 81.
Okay.
But the real story goes back to Robert Towne, who wrote the original screenplay.
Yeah.
This was kind of hard to figure out, like, how we want to, jump into this. But I guess if we're going with the background of the movie first, Robert Towne, he wrote the screenplay. He has uncredited writing. He's uncredited on like a million like iconic movies, everything from like Godfather to like Marathon Man.
Oh, he'd come in and just do like a little touch up or something.
But the big movie that he wrote was Chinatown.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote other movies, but Chinatown is like, like we studied Chinatown.
Yeah, of course. That's
in
like
screenwriting for
Roman
like the brilliance of the
Polanski's
script.
Yeah.
And Towne originally wrote the script and really wanted to direct it.
Yeah, and he was locked in to direct.
And he was all ready to direct. Now, there's conflicting stories. Some say that his directorial debut,
Personal Best,
didn't do well, and that's why they took him off.
And that's a bitter pill to swallow if that's in fact true.
But here's kind of like...
And he had, I think, a longer script he wanted to direct as well.
Well, apparently the script was like really, really different.
Yeah.
Because ultimately Greystoke came out and had like mixed to positive reviews.
Yeah.
Now the reviews were, for the most part, pretty positive, and it even had some Academy Award nominations. But the one review that really fucking nails it, the fucking balls to the wall, is Harlan Ellison's review.
Yes.
Which can be found in Harlan Ellison's Watching, which is the name of a book, which is they've collected all his reviews and stuff from other magazines into one volume. But it originally was found in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction in the August 1984 issue. Just to give you an idea of what he felt about this movie, the first line of his review is, Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes is conceptually not only a disaster, but a shameful example of directorial auteurism. Now, the auteurism line comes from the fact that he feels that Hudson completely butchered Towne's script.
Yeah.
Now, according to...
I wonder if they're friends as well.
I'm sure. And plus, Ellison is...
Yeah,
he's a writer,
and he's also a nut, too, in a sense, where as he's brought so much litigation, he's always saying people are stealing stuff, sometimes unfounded, sometimes founded, where people will say about Terminator. Yeah, and that's why Cameron had to put on like a special thanks to Ellison on it, because he wrote a short story that's very close to it in like the late 60s.
Yeah,
So he's always very like pointing fingers at people, and sometimes
and he's a kooky guy.
Yeah, he's a sci-fi writer.
If you see him interviewed, he's very eccentric.
Yeah, but that's maybe where he gets his ideas.
Of course. I mean, he wrote. Didn't he write like City of the Edge of Forever? He wrote a couple. He wrote an unpublished. He might have actually written for the fourth season, or what is it? I think it's the fourth season of Batman 66. The Two-Face episode?
The Two-Face episode, which I think they wanted Clint Eastwood to be Two-Face. But I think they wrote it, and then it never got filmed because the series got canceled, and they ended up using it and making it in comic book form, illustrated it for that awesome run of Batman 66 from like a couple of years ago, which is really, really cool. So... yeah, he did a lot of TV stuff, much like we talk about Richard Matheson, that kind of thing. Yeah. But he was more sci-fi, and he wrote a lot of groundbreaking sci-fi stuff too.
What did he write? If you don't know the answer to this is a pointless question. But do you know if he wrote? Was it A Boy and His Dog?
Oh, he might have the one with Kevin Costner.
That was adapted into a movie with Don Johnson.
Oh, am I thinking that? What's the one with Kevin Costner's in the post-apocalyptic movie? No, not Waterworld, but something earlier. Maybe I'm thinking
Postman.
No, never mind.
Anyway.
But yeah. So he might have.
I think he might have wrote that, which then was adapted into a really kooky movie.
Yeah, with Don Johnson,
with the young Don Johnson.
Yeah. So anyway, he writes this review.
So he writes this review, and what he's going off of is one, his standing up for the writer. Two, when this movie came out, as you kind of stated, it's kind of this. Greystoke is kind of heralded as being the first Tarzan movie to really stay kind of faithful to the
source material,
to Edgar Rice Burroughs' source material. So he's kind of coming at it like, he's picking it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
But he comes to the defense of Towne, he very well could have known it, because if you were to read his review about it, it's like it's definitely a writer sticking up for another writer because I don't think there's any secrets. Writers, in TV, writers are like the boss.
Yeah, yeah.
But in film, writers get shit on all the time. So here's what Ellison claims about. So this is what he claims. So, it's
going on Ellison's
hearsay.
Yeah, yeah. Can't be admitted in court.
Ellison claims that the film, basically the town had the script and he was shopping it around Hollywood for like 12 years before they made it. And because it was being shopped around so much, it was readily available for people in the Hollywood scene to get a copy of it and read it. So he read it. Apparently he read the original script.
Harlan did.
Yeah. And he said everybody that read it kind of marveled at it, like how amazing it was. Now, the problem was that Town really wanted to direct it. He was kind of shopping around himself. And the reason why it was taking so long to get made was because the studios were really hesitant to okay it, to greenlight a project not knowing if the ape costumes were going to work.
Yeah.
They were basically like, we can't do a whole movie where we have like ape costumes that look like the 2001 apes. We need it to be like they have to be like believable characters that in the script are like actual characters. You have to believe that they're like alive, and like they need to be expressive.
And that's a tall order in the early 80s,
and
late
they
70s.
And they have to age with Tarzan.
Yeah.
As he ages. So I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
Pre-CGI. Hopefully everybody knows that.
So
mid-80s.
that's one of the reasons why it was taking so long. The technology kind of just wasn't there yet in the 70s to do it. So
you're getting people like you're saying. You're either getting like the Planet of the Apes kind of a guy, or you're getting the the apes from 2001.
So Warner Brothers says, we'll give you $500. Go, if you can find a special effects guy that says he can do it and we believe he can do it, we'll greenlight this project. So he goes around, he starts asking every makeup guy he can find. Town does.
Yeah.
Every single makeup guy he talks to says, "Oh, Rick Baker's the guy you need to talk to."
Yeah.
You're like, why are you coming to us? Rick Baker's your guy. So he finally goes to Baker, and Baker reads the script, and Baker says, "I can do it, but it's going to take me 2 years to build the suits.
Yeah.
To get everything right." Town is like, well, what if you had like unlimited resources?
I like he's like he's like making suits. I mean, like tailoring. Like it's gonna take me 2 years in the back room.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one they have to.
He's like a shoemaker.
They have to sculpt the maquettes. I mean, it's like and there's
back
a
then
lot
too.
There's a lot of them too.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to do all that hair. Probably one fucking hair at a time.
They do
punch
wigs
that
and stuff.
shit in. He's like, I can do it, but it's going to take me 2 years. Town says, what if you had unlimited resources? Like in terms of money.
Yeah.
Like it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And he says, well, in that case, it's going to take me 2 years to do it. Rick Baker's like, I don't care how much money you got. This is how long it's going to take. So apparently Warner Brothers hears this and doesn't like that answer.
Yeah.
They don't want to start investing in a project that's going to take 2 years before it's even ready to start shooting.
And around this time we had a Tarzan movie came out in 81 under a different title as well. So that was
with Bo Derek.
Yeah, the Bo Derek movie, which they were kind of worried. Let's see, that was called Tarzan the Ape Man from 1981 with Miles O'Keefe and as Tarzan and Bo Derek as Jane. So that's still relatively in the mind's eye,
Yeah.
And then for another studio to do it, which is completely unrelated, that's also a possible gamble.
And so the studio doesn't like that it's going to take 2 years. So they decide that they're going to go to Carlo Ribaldi, who did E.T.
Yep.
Who built the alien for E.T. And Ribaldi tells them, I can do it in 8 months for $400,000. And Town's like, I don't know. I think Baker's our guy. Like, if we want it done right, it's going to take longer, but Baker's really the guy to do this. So Warner Brothers goes kind of over Town's head, and they hire Carlo Ribaldi to do it. Meanwhile, over a year and a half later and $600,000 in the hole, they still don't have a suit made. They still don't have a single suit made.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what to get into that. I wonder what that was. They don't even have prototypes or a year and a half.
I don't know.
What's he doing with everything? Is he still got the curtain? He's like, you can't look behind it yet. I'm not done.
So Warner Brothers fires Ribaldi and or Rambaldi, and instead of fessing up, this is according to Harlan Ellison. Instead of taking 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 the hit.
Yeah.
And admitting
In pride,
admitting that they did it. The Warner Brothers exec that made this decision instead blamed it on Town and fired him from their director's position.
Wow. But they're citing it was because of his directorial debut.
So that's why Town, he's so pissed off by it.
He gets sacked, and he's still on as a writer now.
That's why he uses the alias.
Yeah. Then he gets so mad that he doesn't want his name on it. He changes his name on it to an alias, which is actually his sheepdog. And so then eventually this does get nominated for a best for an Academy Award for like best
script.
Yeah,
from like adapted.
Yeah, it's writing screenplay based on material from another medium, and his sheepdog's name gets nominated. So and then it actually wins, doesn't it too? Or no, it doesn't. It doesn't win.
It doesn't win. It loses to Amadeus.
Yeah, it was the first Tarzan. This Tarzan was the first movie to get nominated of Tarzan movie, and then the Disney's Tarzan from 2000 from 1999 is the first movie that gets nominated and wins a Tarzan movie. It wins for the song. So that's Ellison's.
So that's that's Ellison's recount of the story. Now he claims that then they give it to Hudson because Hudson is hot off of Chariots of Fire. Hudson reads the script. He doesn't love the script, even though everybody else seems to think it's awesome.
Hugh Hudson.
And he brings in his friend Michael Austin, who has a few writing credits, but nothing of like particular like popularity, like titles to mention. That would be like, oh, he wrote that. And they rework the script, and they really, because Hudson's a British director, they start to really build up that like Edwardian, the Greystoke section of the movie. When he comes back to Greystoke
which this now jumps off book.
Yeah. And so they really start to up that stuff. And so Ellison's real problem with the script, in his opinion, is that he thinks of Tarzan as kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, especially in this Greystoke script. It's like two parts of the personality. We got the savage, Tarzan, and then we have like the Earl of Greystoke.
Yeah, which is interesting because that kind of deviates as well from the source, the Edgar Rice Burroughs. Which we can talk about, but so his problem is like in Ellison's opinion, the thing that makes Jekyll and Hyde interesting is when Jekyll shows up. Without Jekyll, without the Beast, who cares? And so his problem is apparently Town's original script was very much this, even more so a struggle between like the savage and then becoming into our society, our form,
like a more
conforming,
of a quote unquote civilized human. And he kind of strips all of the savagery out of Tarzan, out of the character of Tarzan. And Tarzan goes from being, in his opinion, instead of being an active character that's making things happen, Christopher Lambert's Tarzan is reactive, which is true. He is just kind of like everything's just happening to him, and he's forced to react to everything.
Yeah. Which might not necessarily be a bad thing, but here Ellison is citing that as the issue in this script.
Yeah, I mean, I personally really like this movie. I mean, there's problems with it, which we'll get into. Other things, he's really down on Hudson. He says that he's
still Ellison now going.
Yeah. Ellison, he reports that he's like, oh, how Hudson ruined Rick Baker's costume for Kayla, the mother ape to Tarzan, is like legendary in that he decided that the first scene that they're going to shoot with that was spoiler alert, was her death scene.
Yeah.
So then for the rest of the entire movie, Rick Baker for every scene had to like patch up all the holes for the rest of the movie because he decided to shoot that scene first. So it had like all these like arrow holes and stuff in it. And Ellison also then has a big tirade about how Town's script for Chinatown was ruined as well.
Yeah.
How they took that out of his hand. He does, however, really praise Lambert and Ralph Richardson's performances, saying that basically like really nobody could have done those two characters better, the Earl of Greystoke and Tarzan, than those two actors. So he does he praises those performance, but he does in his like slamming of the movie in this review, he does like recite all this like behind the scenes stuff according to him.
Yeah,
and what I thought was interesting and maybe worth going into before we.
Well,
since
he
it's
also
all preparation into the movie.
He also cites the. He has a contention too, as well as that the film was being promoted as the definitive version.
Yeah.
When it was that, it's misleading because part of the source material that they use to aside from Edgar Rice Burroughs, the source material, they use something that was done by a author named Philip Jose Farmer, who was a sci-fi writer. He did a mock biography called Tarzan Alive in the late 60s, I think it was. He did 2 mock biographies, and he had to justify in the biography.
He basically wrote a biography from the standpoint as if Tarzan was a real person.
Yeah, and he had to patch up a lot of holes and stuff, and that was the reason. The biggest thing is how could a man who is
an uneducated
man be able to then learn so quickly once he's faced with this kind of dilemma. And scientists have said that this wouldn't happen because a man after 6 or 7 or there's a certain age that cuts off and he wouldn't have been able to learn anything. So he says that he's a mimic. He's a perfect mimic. So they take this and they add that into the movie. And that's one of the things that Harlan Ellison gets really pissed at. Now, this guy, Philip Jose Farmer, is interesting because he, in that Tarzan Alive book, he sets up this thing called the, have you heard of this, the Walt Newton family?
I don't think so.
The Walt Newton family, and it's a universe, it's interchangeable. The Walt Newton family or universe was this thing that in 1795 in Yorkshire, England, in real life, a meteor crashed. So he put forth this argument that there was a carriage going by, and all these people in it were exposed to, say, gamma rays.
Yeah.
And then, so that in the 100 years, that gives us Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty, The Shadow, Sam Spade. I mean, it gets endless, this whole universe, and he has this whole thing, And so
he's saying in a fictional world?
Yeah, he's using a real life event,
Yeah.
this meteor crashing, right?
Yeah.
And then he says that passing this real event was a fictional carriage. And in this coach, you had the descendants of Solomon Kane, who's also Edgar Rice Burroughs, I think, Captain Blood, Scarlet Pumpernickel, Sherlock Holmes, his nemesis Moriarty, all these people, the time traveler
hell of a big coach.
I know, and the characters change. Yeah. So that then it gets bigger. You can say they say The Shadow, Sam Spade, Doc Savage, Philip Marlowe, James Bond, Lou Arch. So all they got these powers either to be good or to high intelligence and strength. It was all because of this thing, and that's where he also says that now this Tarzan's family was in there too, the Greystoke. So it's really weird, but it's been accepted, and it's like people like, it kind of like how the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen ties all these different fake archetype heroes for us. Sure, it's so it's termed as this thing, and then there's philosophical papers about it, where people there was a paper written about it by some academics saying academics saying that this is impossible because this, that, and the other thing, and it just leads to these whole weird conversations. Walt Newton family. There's another one to get into, the Tommy Westphal universe, but I think that'll just derail the podcast at this point. Too close, but it's all these weird theories that people have, and I thought it was hilarious because when we saw that name and that they're citing now the source material, his mock. The bio on Tarzan. It's they didn't even. So that's another contention that they say it's that it's not as the first half of the film as written is very, very close to Edgar Rice Burroughs's.
Yeah, and Ellison he makes a point to say the only things that are really great about this movie are the things that are shot for shot, preserved from the town script.
Yeah,
which is basically. For the most part, up until they get to Greystoke, right? I mean, I believe in the, full disclosure, I never read the book.
No, Tarzan, Tarzan of the Apes.
Yeah.
From 1912, I think it was really, It was first
Which
came
then
out
became
All-Star
a series.
magazine.
He wrote...
Edgar Rice Burroughs here.
He wrote something like 22
Yeah, he wrote
books,
a whole crap.
But a lot of them were compiled of short stories because he wrote them for magazines.
Yeah, he wrote them for magazines at the time for pulps. I mean, he's one of the king pulp writers here. He was a the people talk about the 3 pillars in the pulp, bringing that out.
Pillars of pulp?
Pillars of pulp. The pulp pillars for the great pulp tradition is Edgar Rice Burroughs. He also did Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
He did Tarzan. He did Pulsar, which is like a weird thing about a land, like a land of the lost, where someone, makes this big like machine. They tunnel down into the thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, there's dinosaurs down there. There's like, alternate universe. He also did another thing called Barzoom. But anyway, and then the next guy.
I think the Barzoom thing is part of that Carter.
Well, it's also
universe.
Tarzan. Like Tarzan goes down there and land. It's just maybe that's the Pulsar. It's all And then the second pillar of pulps is Robert E. Howard, who gave us Conan the Barbarian. He's the one who did Solomon Kane. He was the Puritan wandering warrior, Cole the Conqueror, and he's really the father of like the sword and sorcery subgenre that people really regard. And then the third person is the many writers who wrote Doc Savage, and they're the magazine, the House magazine that put Doc Savage out used to cite the author being as Kenneth Robeson, which is just an amalgam of all these different writers who were contributing. And Doc Savage is the person who's like really the first person we see like the young, like almost Indiana Jones. He's in the white shirt going into like, Africa and all these places.
I believe that they just cast The Rock for Doc Savage.
Are they doing a Doc Savage? I don't think they've ever done, I don't know if they've done a Doc Savage movie.
I don't think of it.
If they've ever done a thing.
But I think that was like news recently. That I think The Rock might be playing Savage.
Yeah. So all these people, they invented this great industry like this. The pulps back then were like adventure magazines that people had, like, and they call them pulps because they were really made on shitty paper that, that was really, it was disposable entertainment for the early 20th century. And, also the last person they kind of say is H.P. Lovecraft, they say, is a big, although because he didn't contribute that much at all really to adventure magazines or stuff like that, but the people who came out afterward who were being influenced by like Doc Savage and all that, and Robert E. Howard's work, they certainly cite Lovecraft, because Lovecraft started doing new things in the horror industry which we hadn't seen before, that Edgar Allan Poe and the other people had
It was kind of
established.
amazing to think. I mean, I don't know. What's the equivalent today? I mean,
Of the pulps?
Yeah, like when did they start? I mean, even up until like the 60s and 70s. I mean, they were doing short stories like in like Playboy. Like there were writers putting short stories in magazines, maybe not specifically pulp magazines, but the idea of like the short story being a staple of magazines. And so many great stories and films came from adaptations of stories that, like, Who Goes There became the thing from another world. And then John Carpenter's the thing that was originally published.
It's crazy to think that all the these magazine the installments, all like you get like 5 or 6 stories, and that'd be like your movie or your story, and then they could be then later taken out and put in. But this is how people got work, especially back in the old days. There were so many magazines, like for the pulp mags. That was your way to break into to writing, would be to just get a magazine story submitted, like a short story usually, and it's because back then that was how your entertainment was reading. It was prior to like this was certainly almost prior to radio, definitely prior to television, the pulps, and Edgar Rice Burroughs, along with Howard and the people who wrote Doc Savage, were really the first people in the teens to really jumpstart this this pulp tradition, which kicked out the dime store novels.
When that John Carter movie came out, that Disney version. Yeah,
it was so...
It's actually pretty good.
It's a great movie.
The problem is that it was totally marketed incorrectly.
And that's the problem, is that people should know that, like, we wouldn't have Indiana Jones today. We wouldn't have all these like Saturday morning serial like Star Wars, all the stuff that like Lucas and Spielberg all are paying homage to in those movies, and like Indiana Jones or Star Wars is directly out of like a John Carter story.
Yeah,
and it flopped, and it was Disney too. So they would have. I didn't see it. I hear it's really good. But I
ended up renting it, and I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, if anything, like,
is it even?
I might have
John Carter and Mars.
I think it's called John Carter.
Yeah, so it's like, why would you take off, John Carter of Mars, or it's like, why would
I think in that particular case, I think nobody. I don't know if it was an assumption that people would know what it was. I mean, you're selling.
No one's gonna know. It's like what you said to me about freaking Tintin. Great freaking movie, but it flopped here because American audiences don't know Tintin.
Yeah.
So that's your marketing campaign.
Well, I just remember when, like, I rented it on DVD or whatever when it came out, the John Carter movie, and there was this great like documentary about Burroughs and John Carter, and it was like instantly when I watched it, it was on this like a special feature. I was like, if they showed this on ABC on a Sunday night, on the Sci-Fi Channel, they just played this hour-long documentary and let everybody know what this story is, why it's important. You know, that this is the genesis of all kind of like like space exploration adventure movies.
Yeah,
you know, like instantly it was like if they just let people, if people watched this, they would have wanted to see this movie.
It was just so big. It gets to that bigger conversation. They just sometimes will bill or just market things
that's
so
like
completely
that's
wrong.
my big question with like this new Tarzan movie. I mean, when was the Disney one?
Disney one was 99, and there might have been a sequel that was.
My question is like how familiar is a younger audience with Tarzan?
They might have had a cartoon running for a while on the Disney Channel, and let's see. I thought there was one after that, like a live action one. There was a live action one. There was two animated ones. Tarzan of the Apes, 1999 there was an animated film, and then the Disney's Tarzan was also 1999. And I thought there was something after that, like another live action one. But this is the thing where if they don't let people know, you know, they need to have that money machine behind it to like tell people what this stuff is. Because
I'm just curious because there's a lot of things that we grew up with. I feel like our generation grew up with like an inherent knowledge of.
Well, because it was still in our culture.
From what other reason?
Yeah, for horror movie, we talk about that with horror, like Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, this kind of thing, because it was our parents' generation. But sometimes when time goes by so long that you don't see something, you know, you need to kind of reintroduce it to society. You can't just think.
You know, we had like you said, the Bo Derek one, and then this came out while we were still young. So I mean, I guess it was fresh. It'll be really interesting to see. I mean, you know, how the new Tarzan does, kind of like you know, box office wise, because I'm really curious like if anybody really cares about it enough to go see.
Sadly, the bottom line is what counts now. So these things won't. I don't know if they won't get made, but certainly it'll be discouraged upon, because that, like you said, that John Carter kind of just blew in a sense. I mean, just not blew the movie, but it flopped at the box office, because you need to tell people that, you know, this is how everything started. I mean, they really pioneered in a whole industry that was, you know, copied all over the world. And then the second wave brought us, you know, people like Dashiell Hammett and, you know, Earl Stanley Gardner, who wrote Raymond, what's his name? Perry Mason. I mean, freaking, you have these people who were writers. Like Earl Stanley Gardner was a guy who was a lawyer. He was a practicing professional lawyer. And at the same time, he had a job writing. He would write freaking Perry Mason. And his workload was so bad that he would dictate these stories to his secretary. So she would just take dictation of him, you know, read out of his head, doing a Perry Mason short, you know. And it's just like, it's an amazing, just, you know, and then, you know, you get into the 40s, you know, you get Raymond Chandler, Jim Thompson, and in the 50s, Mickey Spillane. But it's just all these great writers came out of this, and they just really defined. You know, they gave us like all these kind of like tropes and like story conventions and stuff that, you know, that developed into like the Saturday morning serial.
Sure.
Well, and then this is where you get like Jack Kirby's, Stan Lee's, the Bob Kane's. We're looking at all this stuff and directly.
Well, yeah, I mean, like
then
all this stuff. You're right. I mean, there's definitely
know,
like a family tree of like, you know, like how each branch, you know, even like for instance. You know, Ray Bradbury said in like Paris Review, he did an interview at some point, and he says Edgar Rice Burroughs never would have looked upon himself as a social mover and shaker with social obligations, but as it turns out, and I love to say it because it upsets everyone terribly, Burroughs is probably the most influential writer in the entire history of the world. Bradbury continued that by giving romance and adventure to a whole generation of boys, meaning his generation, Burroughs caused them to go out and decide to become special. Yeah,
and it's like, you know, people, a lot of these, and the good thing about this first book, Tarzan of the Apes, is it just went in public domain in 2012.
So when we making a Tarzan movie?
Yeah, it's just, you know, we'll just make a darn Tarzan movie, and they released I think it's like the library of some great institution released this really, really nice edition of it, almost as it was a
Now, here's the thing: when
with
you
the original art of how it looked when it came out, 100 years before.
you're gonna you take like a Ellison review, and we'll dive actually into the actual movie in a second, but of like attacking it for claiming that it's like the it's claiming to be like the first faithful one, and though it shies away from the regular story in the midway point or whatever, if you read like the synopsis of like the first book, like it seems like the way they went with it seems way more interesting.
Yeah, it's the big contention used to be was that Burroughs wrote Tarzan as Lambert portrayed him, where he's an intelligent guy.
Yeah.
We can get into the actual character itself, but when it started getting film adaptations, there was one in 1932, the first one of this series, Tarzan the Ape Man, starring Johnny Weissmuller. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, like we always do. Yeah. He was the one. He went on to do like 11 Tarzan films in the 30s and 40s, and he's the one who kind of set in the mindset,
Tarzan,
that he's a Neanderthal. Yeah. He's certainly if we're going under the idea that Tarzan's going to be a real person, like this is a real world stuff, of course he's going to have issues. We'll already say that he's going to have issues adapting, like this movie shows. But it's different where you're coming from an intelligent being as opposed to this guy, in the 30s who kind of it wasn't him, his portrayal, but it was probably the scripts he was given, that he's kind of like a Neanderthal, and then you kind of like have to it's like teaching a dog tricks. He can barely speak and all that. So because of that now becoming like Bible to the story, you had 50 years of films that came through that was working off of Tarzan's an idiot. You kind of,
Well, for instance, you take...
Like even like Captain Caveman on 60s and 70s cartoon. They're all idiots. So what Warner Brothers is trying to purport here is that this is getting back to the purist that he's showing. No, he's
for instance,
not.
To show you how a film can kind of...
But Ellison was just picking hairs at that point. Because he's like, there's another thing.
To show you how like a film can change like the quote unquote Bible of like a story, or a myth or whatever. Like vampires, weren't killed by sunlight until Murnau did it.
Yeah.
In Nosferatu, the silent movie.
Yeah.
And
Bram Stoker wasn't, because he's walking around during the day.
Yeah.
In the Bram Stoker
it's just like another thing to show you how like one movie comes out, the popularity of that movie changes like the entire myth of that character.
Yeah.
And in that case, like vampires in general, like the sun will kill them.
And while we're here talking about Robert E. Howard, when are we ever going to talk about the author again, unless we do Conan the Barbarian? Which I can always... I'll be completely into doing the John Milius version with Schwarzenegger. He became famous. He wrote all his life. He became famous at age 23. He committed suicide at age 30, and he committed suicide because he learned that his mother lapsed into a coma that she wasn't expected to wake. He walked out to his car and shot himself in the head at age 30.
I don't know what that has to do with Tarzan, but I'm with you.
I'm just saying the plight of, I guess, of a guy like that, a fate, how conflicted, how we're always talking about, like, people dying tragically young. This guy kills himself. The guy who, created Conan kills himself at age 30 with a gun to his mouth. How crazy is that? But these stories...
that's the tragedy of
the artist.
Creative-minded.
But these stories back then were like, it's amazing that the stuff that they pioneered. And Tarzan was originally conceived to be a kind of guy who was represented. I mean, I don't want to say like an Aryan, but he was kind of like the idealistic man. He was like his body was in shape. He wasn't the colonized world of right and wrongs, of rules, kind of didn't apply to him. So his feelings and his decisions were built more on more genuinism, more genuine, out of love and respect. He wasn't kind of like spoiled or ruined by like civilization. Yeah. And that's how Burroughs wrote him, so that when you'd have him in the original book, he goes to like Baltimore to meet Jane, and Jane's gone. He goes to Wisconsin, and he finds her in Wisconsin, and Jane is like going to be married to like his cousin, and he then decides not to tell her who he really is because he doesn't want to ruin her life.
Yeah.
And he kind of goes back hat in hand back to the jungle. He realizes. So he makes the decision that like Tarzan is not like like us, we're led by emotion or irrationally by whatever these, So he kind of shows what society is versus us. I mean, there's another example in the book where he's eating at the table and he's licking all the meat off the bones because he thinks in his world you can't waste anything. Where his cousin sends back his meat that they're eating because it's not cooked right, or he doesn't decide to eat it. And it just shows that the distinction between us and that kind of a world. So he's designed in that such a way, and then when you get into the 30s, they kind of make him an idiot, and they kind of like just make him very like basic. So then when you get now the portrayal of Lambert for Tarzan purists, and it's interesting you think about the people who are fans, and I guess maybe that's getting smaller with age because they haven't been doing Tarzan, vehicles that like, that must have been really exciting to see. Oh my God, they're going to do it in like, how the source material was.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into the movie. I mean, we're taking something that, had been adapted, had over 20 volumes written as stories.
Yeah. Over, 40, 50 years,
And then, and then films probably through most decades.
Yeah, every decade. I mean, because it was such a people love this, and it goes like, back to like, the stories that we saw up until like the 80s or 90s of like the like Orientalism, people looking at like the darkest of Africa or like the mysterious East, and the mysterious East gives you characters like I love, like, Fu Manchu, Charlie Chan, Mr. Moto, it's, and the idea of like, like the white hunter is going to go like in the darkest depths of Africa, and they're going to go like colonize, they're going to go domesticate, they're going to go Christianize,
if you look
civilize, whatever. And this
is
these
ideas.
No, but I mean,
I get your point.
But this is so exciting of that's how the movie starts, which is what we're doing. We're going into and we see these hunters, they're just shooting everything. You know what I mean?
But I guess my point was that like we're most of these adaptations are very much like action adventure.
Yeah.
And now we have a basically like a costume drama, kind of like with a bit of an epic flair. I mean, at least the anniversary DVD, opens with like a minute and a half overture. It's a film that gets nominated for Academy Awards. I mean, it's got some gravitas to it.
And we talked about that in the Black Hole cast, because the Black Hole has an overture at the beginning, and it's interesting because that was one of the last movies that had an overture. So it's now this one, they give you an overture. And I wonder if this is one of the last movies to do it, or they did it consciously on purpose to throw back to the old days. Or
I very well could have.
And that adds on to the length of the movie, because the cut, what is it, like 2 hours and 16 minutes or so.
Something
So you have
like
a
that,
3 minute or 4 minute overture at the beginning, and then you get into the movie. It shows you it's going to be epic.
So yeah, I mean, so like that's my point, is that like we have like a very serious, non-action movie,
And that could also,
which I think is great.
They could do that on purpose. You're right, to set the tone that, hey, look, it's not going to be the same portrayal as him running after Jane.
Directed by the guy that won the Academy Award in 1981 for, obviously for a serious movie. So I remember we went to see it. My question is like,
Who, me? No, you and you.
I mean, yeah, like my dad told
I was like,
us
I didn't
to
see this with
it,
you.
and-
Full disclosure, I had never seen this all the way through until this video.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. So like,
Yeah, what's my connection with the movie?
like how do you have? Obviously now you've. seen the
No,
whole
I've never
thing,
seen the movie all the way through, but I remember it being played growing up. Like, we had a couple of the movie channels, and this is probably how I was exposed to movies like Terminator, whatever, the uncensored versions. So I do remember it being on when I was little, but for some reason I turned it off. And I remember specifically, I would catch the scene where he's on top of the manor house.
Yeah.
And he throws the rock off and hits the back of the guy's
car.
his horseless carriage kind of a thing, a little race car. And I remember that scene and him jumping down and then like having cross words with the guy. And that's the only scene I remember. It's like, wow, Tarzan's but I didn't remember anything about if they were going to be in England or Scotland or the parts of the of Africa. And it reminds me of the time, like those movies like The Mission, you know, the De Niro movie where he's like a conquistador and he kills somebody in the street and he goes to like repent himself to Catholics and he like, you know, carries a cross up a river, you know, climbing. Like how the 80s used to give you those stylized kind of movies that like, you know, were of that era, and you know, they're these epic, you know, shot in the jungle kind of a movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take a look at, you know,
but it's funny because a lot of this wasn't shot in the jungle because the DP had a fear of spiders, so he didn't want to go to Africa, so they shot almost all of it. And it looks in close up, you know, you kind of have that feeling that since it's a big, I attribute it to it being a big Warner Brothers epic. They wanted to have 100% control of the conditions, and that's why in close up you're shooting on a set, and you come to find out, no, just the DP's like, I ain't going to freaking Africa. I'm scared of tarantulas. Fuck you. And then they were like, okay, then, and it was that, you know, well enough that they kept the DP. But I do like the idea that it presents, and that's why I brought up the whole point about the Orientalism, is that it really shows you, maybe this is just me looking at it with age, that like it's a theme that you see, I think, for me, most fully kind of realized in the remake of Night of the Living Dead that Tom Savini directed, where they really hammer home the point that, like, no, at the end of the day, the zombies aren't the monsters, the humans are the monsters. They're just a direct, you know, they're just not a byline, but like a another version of us. I can't think of the word. And that's where I get this here, where it's like you have, and they do it beautifully. Like you have these white, proper, you know, hunters coming in, just shooting anything they see. They don't care what the hell they're doing. They're taking animals, they're taking babies, they're shooting babies. They don't care, because to them they're like, who cares? You know, the savages, fuck them.
Yeah. Well, you know, even we even get like the tribal people.
Yeah, you know,
as being like kind of the enemy as well.
And that's something that goes to the second part, I think, of the original source material book, Burroughs' book, where he the savages kill his mother figure, and then he forms this uneasy relationship with the tribe, and he's like selling and bartering, getting weapons, or he's doing raids on them as well. And it kind of develops that way, where the relationship with the tribe is explored a little more. Where in this movie, which I think it's good for the movie, they properly just show his relationship with the Western culture, you know, of the white people coming in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, in a nutshell, one of the things that I like about the movie is that we start with a very brief kind of like prelude of like the Greystoke and his parents going on some expedition.
And it opens beautifully. It opens on this beautiful matte painting, and it's the same shot that closes the film.
Yeah,
we fade up on this beautiful big matte painting of it. Looks like I forget was it Atlantis? Where's Wonder Woman from? You know what I mean? Like whatever fictional colony she's from or whatever. It looks like that. Like you see like a huge waterfall, and it looks like it's like there's fire and all. You know, it's very primitive. It looks
some
like
kind of volcanic rock.
Yeah,
and the guy, I don't remember what his name is, unfortunately, but the guy that they got to do all of like the matte painting stuff.
It's not Ellen Shaw.
Is the guy that did all of Hitchcock's.
Oh wow.
You know, and it's the guy that Hitchcock always liked to do all his matte painting stuff.
And it starts with this image, and it also ends with this image. It fades out on that. So, and then it has this, like you're saying, this little like preface of the story of, and it's weird because it's odd how it's like tacked on in a way, and you have to try to figure out what the hell this is. But it explains the backstory of what happened to the monkey couple, why
the movie ends up. There are some holes, and it's for me specifically the ones, there's holes like in the beginning and at the end.
And they say it was, you don't know if it's because of them not, you know, butchering his script, you know.
Yeah.
So Towns, it could be they took Towns' script and just cut it down, you know, or they re-edited it. So who knows what was in that original script that could have explained away these plot holes that you see.
We get two kind of like back-to-back scenarios in the beginning. One is kind of explaining the Kayla, the mother ape, loses her baby.
It's terrible too.
From like an asshole, like alpha male
during like a storm.
Yeah, and then
they don't hide it either. You just see a freaking baby just fall and like plop on a rock, and you're a boulder, and you're like, oh my god.
And then it's juxtaposed with Greystoke and the Clayton. Tarzan's name is John Clayton in the movie. His parents leaving for some kind of voyage.
Yeah, they're going, and then he also like the father in it, Ralph Richardson, he died. This was his last performance. He plays the elder, Clayton. He's kind of hesitant about them going, and then you can tell. But this was almost like a rite of passage for some of these people, these big families. Like, you just go on a big expedition, and that's what he says. Like, you sure his daughter's going to be all right in the jungle for a year? And he's like, you'll be fine. Don't worry. The husband figure. And he's like, all right, I'll see you when you get back. I'll see you when you get back. And it's and you see they're getting ready to go, and it's nice. And then it's also the little girl we see. Is that Jane?
I think that's supposed to be Jane.
Jane gets picked up by the father, and she's and then it's like, oh, I didn't realize, because in my history I had never read the Burroughs novel, and I wasn't up on Tarzan. For some reason, I thought that they were, I didn't realize the Jane connection later on. So then, like you say, they go off on this expedition, and then the next scene is
and then the next shot is like
it's freaking not Robinson Crusoe, it's Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah,
it's horrific, and that the guy who, I don't know if he's supposed to be the captain, who's
it's not my fault.
Yeah, that's horrifying. And then it's like we see him later on in the movie.
We see basically the shipwrecked, and
people washed up ashore. People survive. People are dead.
It's moving at a clip, almost like too much at a clip. It's like all of a sudden it's like.
And the ship's out. The ship hasn't sank. I think it just ran aground, or
I guess
because the ship's out there with a hole in it, and I don't know if it's maybe because there's low tide or whatever. But whoever this guy, he's there and he's saying it wasn't his fault what happened. It probably clearly was, And then we'll see him later on. But then we see the husband and wife. Thank gosh, is still alive. He's a physician.
Yeah, he seems like he's some kind of doctor.
So they're like, oh, and then the next step is, you're right. It's like jumping very quickly.
And then the next scene, they're living in the jungle.
Yeah, it's freaking.
They built a giant tree house.
It's Gilligan's Island style
out of the ship.
Yeah, and they brought everything that's washed up ashore into the thing, and they've got freaking TV and Wi-Fi.
And then we have like the father's,
his journal,
John Clayton's.
His diary,
and he's now kind of narrating. We find out that the mother's sick. They have a baby.
Yeah, takes it all out of her to having the baby.
She dies, which is still very accurate to the book.
Yeah, and she dies very tragically. The scene itself, it's very sad, and the baby's there.
And then the apes come in and beat the father to death.
Yeah, then this is how the connection is.
And she takes and then Kayla is still carrying around this dead baby, which is like another thing. It's like, I don't know. She's been carrying this thing around a long time.
But they don't tell you. That's another thing. Is it's all out of order. So that could have happened the night before.
Yeah.
They don't tell you, which is
I guess you're supposed to assume it's chronological.
Yeah, exactly. But nowadays, if you think of like movies how they do it today, that could be
they went Pulp Fiction on that.
Yeah, that could have been like the night before. They should have linked the storm.
Let's go Pulp Fiction on this shit.
What does that even mean in 1983? Don't worry about it. You'll
know.
Yeah, you'll know in 20 years. 50, what's my math? 9 years. So the mean gorilla comes in, and I want to say gorilla. I don't know if they're monkeys or gorillas.
Well, that's the thing, is that another interesting aspect of the movie is they're kind of like a made up species.
Yeah,
they're too big to be chimpanzees, but they're too small to be gorillas.
They're not silverbacks.
So it's really like.
And did Rick Baker do Gorillas in the Mist as well?
Yeah, Rick Baker's,
because that's like the most real. That's that was like 87 or 88, and that's really said.
So Rick Baker kind of like invents this species.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a fictional species of a primate.
And then also he had to be saddled with the task, much like, I guess, a Planet of the Apes movie, to a certain extent, was not only did you have to fabricate these masks, you have to have them kind of be identifiable for audiences. Yeah. People can say, okay, this is the bad guy, this is the good guy, this is the female. Yeah. And then out of that, you want to have a whole shitload of them that are undistinguishable so that they can blend in better, so that the principles of those monkeys will then, stand out. So that's a feat that's pretty hard to do. So,
but then from the minute that the father dies, the parents are dead. The Tarzan's parents are dead.
Yeah.
We have a movie without dialogue for like the next half hour.
Yeah. So she sees the baby. She hears the baby crying. The ape, the head ape, we'll call ape or monkey. Kayla, and she realizes that Kayla realizes that it needs help. She picks it up and she just adapts the baby as hers.
Yeah.
Interesting that the Tarzan is in the name of the movie title, but no one ever speaks the word Tarzan.
Which Ellison in his review says is like absurd. But at the same time,
but
in the context of in the book,
yes, which is
the apes have a language.
Yeah, ape language. And Burroughs, they name in the Burroughs book, the apes name Tarzan because Tarzan in their language means white skin.
Yeah.
So it is completely plausible. It sounds like Ellison's.
I mean, we kind of see visually that there's communication between the apes and between Tarzan and the apes as he grows up. But it's not put into like a fictionalized language.
I wonder
so the
how
name Tarzan would have never.
It's interesting to
in
go
this
read
world.
the source material and see if Burroughs actually didn't, much like Jose Farmer had to justify how Tarzan's able to learn stuff. You have to try to hit these hurdles. That must have been a hurdle as a writer. Is it ooh the entire time, or is he actually like talking to the? I would assume that he's almost like Crocodile Dundee in that shit, where he's talking to him in a certain way, where he's like with the bullhorns, like Crocodile Dundee. So you don't know. So then.
So I mean, I agree with honestly, like I personally agree with from the standpoint of like not using the term Tarzan.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's coming from a.
How would they know to call him Tarzan?
Yeah,
unless he said "Meet Tarzan," you gay, we fucker.
And then we have like basically like a beautifully told kind of like silent story for like the first third of the movie.
Yeah, until the white pimp men come again and fuck everything up.
As we see kind of Tarzan age, and then a lot of these beats of him kind of growing up are taken right out of the book.
Yeah, this is where they're
him rising to, him having like his parents and his father ape being kind of pushed away from the clan by a new alpha male. Him killing this new alpha male and becoming the lord of becoming like king of the apes. It's a beautiful story, and I'm sure there's some people out there that are like, oh, this is just tree hugger. This is because it does paint kind of humanity in a bad light.
Yeah, that's that's the problem. You can't really, if you want to look at it like say left versus right or whatever. I was trying to think of this myself, where it's like, how do you paint conglomerates in like a good way? The conglomerates are always, if it's the evil oil company, it's the evil millionaire. I mean, there's a book series called Atlas Shrugged out there, which kind of is a conservative bastion, and that kind of points these things in a good light. But it's really hard. So of course, you're going to have that then, and I want to say it's sad but true. Around that time, like that's what people were doing. Like, so you're right. It becomes this kind of, where I guess that kind of exemplifies the idea of him being a reactionary character, where these elements are forced upon him to ascend, and then he's even taken out of his natural environment. Yeah. Albeit like forced upon him at birth. Yeah. And when he goes back to Scotland, where he's supposed to be from, it's not really. He's not digging it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tragic story. I mean, at every step of the way, it's nothing but like heartbreak for this character, unfortunately. To the point that you're speaking of, there's an interesting kind of duality to quote unquote like the Western, like the white man, like the Western civilization coming
and in that
and
time
invading.
period, just completely, because
you have like the hunter guy who's clearly like leading the expedition.
Tarzan comes to age. He's having fun time. He's a
I mean,
teenager, and then you have the next
basically
step.
have some expedition comes to Africa, and part of it's like there's
gets the second half of the plot going. Of things to come.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how really kind of in terms of the order of things, how much this really matters, but to speak to what you're talking about, with this expedition comes, and we have what the interesting part is. What I'm saying is that there's like this duality of there's the people that are there for like quote unquote scientific purposes. I mean, it's an expedition to gather specimens for the English museum or something,
history museum or something.
So you have like the people that are there for quote unquote science or whatever, preservation, however you want to look at it.
Ian Holmes is one of them.
Yeah, well, he's just kind of there because he's ordered to be there. He's kind of like this outside party that's kind of against the whole thing to begin with.
Well, he's like the cynical smart man. He's almost like an author or like
but you
a
have
writer.
like the guy who's, later in Greystoke, the guy with the glasses. He's there for the museum.
Yeah.
And then you have like the asshole hunter guy that's just shooting everything that moves.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting
Who's also I think his character seems like he's very familiar with the environment to a certain extent. I mean, he ends up getting killed there.
Yeah.
But so I think he takes it all for granted. He's like, this is how you're supposed to treat him, that kind of a thing,
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll get to this point eventually. The point is like you're showing like this. You're showing this, the humanity and Western civilization in a bad light, but you're showing like the real assholes, and then you're showing like the ignorant asshole, like so it's like there's nothing. The only like part of it that's even has any kind of like redemption is the in-home character, who's like, you hear like his diary, which is like, if I wasn't ordered to be here, I would have left these assholes a long time ago. Like, he's just like kind of disgusted by the whole thing. Yeah. But it's
interesting too that he doesn't then kind of like in any way objection that's beyond like a, hey, you shouldn't do that. So it's like, I guess you can go down another road. Is he then culpable because he doesn't? What's he going to do? He can't say, hey, that's wrong, but it's like he's just kind of your eyes documenting it.
He's certainly kind of an accomplice, even though he's like a reluctant accomplice.
Yeah, but he does certainly point in the face that these guys are.
But I just think it's interesting that you see, like, it's easy to hate the guy who's just there killing everything that moves.
Yeah.
And doesn't give a fuck about whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't actually start to at least that I didn't, you don't actually start to hate the museum guy until we get to Greystoke. And he's just like, we got to study him. Like, he has no regard for John Clayton as a human.
Yeah. He's more there. He's there that he wants to dissect him.
But he's equally kind of, like I said, it's being like asshole by ignorance.
Yeah. The other guy, they may be using different methods, but they're at the end their strategy is the same.
I guess that's my point. Is that like they're really not that different?
No, because when he gets back to England or Scotland, where it's supposed to take place, he wants to he almost represents then the Elephant Man people, the people who want to study him, where it's like these doctors who they don't care what they do. Like, it's the same era where we had, I guess, in England, when they were running out of cadavers to dissect, you had people. Body snatchers, and they pay people to go rob graves, and they, because they needed people to dissect. So it's that kind of environment you're in, where it's like, well, you can't. What is it? You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, kind of a situation. So there was a lot of people like would look the other way of the society back then, and you just think how hard it was. I mean, I'm thinking like going on an expedition into the freaking jungle. People did this. I mean, like we're not even talking about like Teddy Roosevelt, who would bring like 5,000 people and casks of ale to drink at night. Like, you and I get funding to go on some sort of expedition for like, say, a museum, or to find a ape, or find a mummy in a freaking pyramid. It's like how you're really going, especially back then, to like uncharted territory. It's very much like you're almost going to a different planet, dealing with who the hell knows what you're going to do. And then for me, like, to think about, like, I'm such a germaphobe now and all, or I don't like to go into a hotel room without having like a black light. And it's like now it's like these people are just going out in in like 600-degree heat, and who knows when they're going to change or shower, or it's just
I mean, it's certainly
it's like those were men. You know what I mean? Though, like, we're just like, oh well, I don't know. Is it raining out? Maybe I should call in sick today. And these guys are sleeping outside. I mean, look at I'm always fascinated in movies by like the last outpost kind of a thing, like right on the edge of society, like in Apocalypse Now, when they're getting near the end of the movie, they get to that crazy bridge where it's not done yet, and they're shooting, and that's the whole thing where it's like, who's in charge here, soldier? Ain't you? That whole thing with the roach. It's like you're on the fringe of civilization's falling off, and over there is the unknown, and you see that in a lot of westerns as well, like these outposts, these trading posts, or like these haberdasheries, and that's where like you have the David Suchet character where he's like on the
basically, in a nutshell, Ian Holmes gets injured.
The tribe attack the white people. He decimates at first they're like, oh, it's going to be fine, and then they get overrun. It's almost like the beginning of that other movie, the Reverend. The Indians overwhelm, and so the tribe, so the the party almost gets wiped out, or they're able to get away. Ian Holmes hides, and then Tarzan finds him, and Tarzan takes him back, and Tarzan nurses him back to health, and then it becomes very much like you see the innocence of Tarzan in a way where he's not ruined by society.
Yeah.
He's kind of like,
and you see this beautiful friendship.
Yeah, exactly, where he's learning things, and then it's also
teaching
interesting
him how to speak,
and you don't know how long that takes, because it's so interesting how and this goes back to the idea of the Walt Newton family, where it's like, is he a genius, or was this, that he's able to so quickly take on language abilities, learn things? Because in the original Burroughs novels, Tarzan teaches him. He finds the treehouse, and then he teaches himself how to read. It's like, girl, how does he even know what a C or a K looks, sounds like? So it's like, so I wonder how long Holmes is. I mean, enough time for him he gets a stomach injury and another injury, gets a thing, an arrow through the thigh maybe, but so he's able to walk. But it's like, by the end of it, they're having like, philosophical. He's understanding like, no, I conflicted Tarzan, because Tarzan played by an Italian.
What are you talking about?
I don't want to get out of it. That's some of the Deep Red cats from 2 weeks ago, still there, bleeding in. But like, they have these. It's gotten part of he's understanding like complicated theories about razor and then he's even to the part where
it's a good thing that Tarzan is not like naturally a really hairy guy.
Yes, yeah.
He shaves Tarzan for the first time, which Tarzan doesn't really need to shave.
He doesn't. That's what I was thinking. It's like, why doesn't Tarzan have a beard? Like, does he? You would think Tarzan would have like a huge freaking. He'd look like one of these mountain men from Alaska or something like that, or a hipster from Brooklyn. You have these people with these fuck off beards now. So, but yeah, you're right. So it's like
razor,
mirror, and he's able to. By the end of it, he's able to explain to him like, no, these are your family, these are apes, and Tarzan's like, what do you mean? I don't understand.
I mean,
it gets so then he's able to convince him.
I mean, all I can say is, this is a tough one, because it's hard to know like really how much we need to get into and how much we really need to explain.
Well, we're basically done then. That was it.
Yeah, to explain like the whole movie.
So he takes him out.
So he finally convinces Tarzan, and I think that's like at the end of the movie. I think Ian Holmes realizes that he probably made the wrong call.
Yeah, but
he
how
probably
he
has a
at the
lot
time,
of guilt about it. But he convinces them that you need to come with me. Like you need to be with people. You need to be with your real family.
Yeah.
Like these aren't your family. And so they then leave the jungle, and they end up at like this outpost.
Yeah, where he meets the David Suchet character.
David Suchet owns like this like hotel.
Just a
boarding
area, where they probably have access to the river. It's made probably out of like freaking like what do you call those, like bamboo? What I mean? And it's very much like Wages of Fear or Sorcerer. Like it's like freaking nothing's going on there, and then the guys come in and
the guy who's presumably the captain of the ship.
So many years ago, he's stuck there.
He's been here the longest.
Yeah, he's been here the longest, and he's in his own fucking world too, and he's gained weight even more, and he's got a beard.
Very like not so savory.
Yeah, it's almost it hits upon like
of character
what the original Wages of Fear does, where it's like that story about people, they get there and then they don't have the money to get out of there, and that's Wages of Fear turns out to be freaking Sorcerer. They remade it that way, but I like that idea where it's like these guys. I think the same thing where because then Ian Holmes is trying to borrow money to get out of there, and they're like, well, that's so it's freaky to think that like you get to help. Now they're back to seeing more white men or more civilization, and they're not going to help you get out of it. And then you're stuck there, and you become like these guys working.
Yeah, well, these guys end up being assholes, and they're gonna.
They start beating up Ian McKellen. Tarzan sees it.
Not McKellen.
I'm sorry, Ian Holm. I keep saying Ian McKellen. Tarzan intervenes. The place gets start a fire. They're able to escape. The place burns down, and then now they're back to.
Yeah, but Ian Holm has a great line there, which is kind of what you're talking about. He's like, John, this is not humanity.
Yeah,
this is just the edge of it.
Yeah, and that's how I look at that, and I find that just so fast. That's even back to the Hateful Eight, like out in the middle of nowhere, this place. So I love that. So then Ian Holmes then brings him back to civilization.
Yeah,
to
the next
house.
time we see him, he's all
dolled up.
They pull up in a stagecoach, and they're all dressed up. And then it becomes this story of trying to...
My Fair Lady.
Yeah, it becomes the story of trying to, readapt him to civilization. Ralph Richardson he plays the Earl of Greystoke. Beautiful performance.
Yeah.
Of like this old man who is kind of
still
going
alive now.
senile, and he's senile, and in his head he's kind of confused. Like he kind of believes that Lambert is his son, not necessarily his grandson.
Now this is going back to the first. We talked about that first scene where he said goodbye to his parents and to Lambert's parents, saw him off, and and then now he's still alive. Lambert comes back and he's the grandson, but he's kind of like having this, because he's kind of losing it because he's so old, and then, he's in and out of it, but he's still very lucid at other times, and they have this nice, poignant relationship because he's a man who's at the edge of his life and he's seen, the world from front to back. So he's trying to explain that to him too about life, and he's talking about the manor house, and that was around the time where if you date it by the car, we're probably in the teens, the little roadster or the race car that the other gentleman has. So that was at the time when like those aristocracies were starting to lose money because these people had like just endless family money that was, they made rich from whatever way, oil or whatever, and then they were running out where it's like, this is not sustainable for generations to come, and that's why they would sell off parts of their houses, they would, sell their land off, or they that's how I'm a lord in Scotland in real life, because there was a house in Scotland that to keep up the upkeep, they open it up to the public to come and look through the house, and it's like a museum, and they sell off little parcels of land. I own 1 foot by 1 foot in Scotland, so I'm technically Lord Dion Baia. So he references this in the monologue he has with Lambert. He's like, people want to sell stuff off. Don't sell anything. This is what we worked for.
Yeah.
You have to be proud about this. And I think that goes into Lambert's feeling about life. He's like, why am I leaving my home and my land that I've worked so hard to acquire, my family, which is the gorilla apes in the forest, to come here. Yeah. And even though I may, by like genetic design, supposed to be here, I'm not. And it also just, for the movie, just brings up like the barbarity of people versus him, and it's almost like he's innocent in a sense. He's like a child, in these situations. Then he meets these assholes like the guy who's going to marry Angie McDowell's character. This is her. We should bring her up. This is her film debut. And while we watched it, I was like, she looks dubbed to me, and we found out Glenn Close dubbed her because they thought her southern accent was too strong.
Yeah.
And Angie McDowell. So she's
Andy McDowell.
Andy McDowell. So she's dubbed by Glenn Close, who goes on to be one of the voices in the Disney Tarzan movie from 1999.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
Yeah. So
so we get this, like, it's just, I think this, for me, the strength of this movie comes from this, from the relationships forged, and like Lambert's performance of like this, like the discovery, this like discovering humanity.
Now let me ask you a question. When you saw it, I don't mean to cut you off. When you saw it as a child in the theater, was any of this conveyed to you? Do you remember? I mean, I'm not going to say you're going to remember what you were thinking when you saw it, but do you think you just grasped the concept of the confliction his character was having? You think
it's hard to tell. I mean, I don't know,
because it's so much. It's we've been thrown around like the word meta in a lot of casts, but this is kind of meta in the sense where they're not making him just like an action star. He's not like Brendan Fraser in like a George of the Jungle movie. He is now a guy who's they're bringing him back, and it's almost like there's an example that's in my head that I can't think of, but it's almost like the like Apocalypse Now. It's like they're bringing Martin Sheen back to civilization. He's like, no, my home's the jungle, because
I think there's a lot of things in it that I think are you can't. You probably, a 6-year-old can't really identify with, just because of life experience.
Yeah. But you could probably say, like, this guy's an asshole. He's mean, Daddy.
I do know, like, obviously it made a big impact on me on some level, because this movie's always been a movie that's
well, certainly I think the romanticism or the escapism of it, it's like that was what the Pulp Tradition was. It was escapism, and it's, unbridled this with sci-fi and fantasy, and certainly this aspect. So But I do think that there's an emotional element to this movie that I think. But you never went on to patronize other Tarzan movies. It was just like this movie, and maybe Lambert stayed with you, but it wasn't like you went and sought out, like, I'm going to go read some Tarzan.
That's true. Although, I grew up in a household, my dad was very much into like classic literature, anything from like like from Shakespeare to Jack London, or and the Three Musketeers stuff. I mean, I grew up. My dad was very much a literature guy, so Tarzan, I think, was a thing.
Yeah,
just from the literature standpoint, even though it's coming from a different place of pulp compared to full-fledged.
Well, by that time it was bona fide, I think.
But so there was that there, and I bet you I probably had like child adaptations of it, and but it wasn't something that got me on. You're right; it's not something that like got me on like this huge like Tarzan kick when I was a kid.
But it still touched.
But
you
it was
like
very much like the
even
movie
for you to
stuck
suggest
with
to do
me.
the movie.
And it was something that it obviously is a very early memory for me, and one that always stuck with me in terms of like, whenever this movie was on, it was always like, oh, I gotta watch it. This movie's always been with me, kind of thing. And I think that, like I said, its strengths lie in the relationships and kind of the inner struggle of Lambert. The relationship with him in Holmes is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then when he there's, for me, this movie has a lot of like tear-jerking moments. And even just when like he leaves, when Ian Holm leaves, and he's like, I'll be back when I can, and he gives him the present, and he opens it up, and it's Razor.
Yeah.
And Mir, and
then he runs after the car.
It's just like that. It's just
the horse, the buggy. And he takes he can't say goodbye, and then Ian Holmes. They hold hands while the buggy's going, and he's able to take his ring off. Lambert.
I mean, that's that's the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
But even just like
he's like a child though.
Yeah.
It's like a child would react, and it's sad because it's like that's his comfort blanket.
But it's also just like a beautiful moment of he opens it up and Ian Holmes says Razor.
Yeah.
And he says he repeats it. It's like it's in a way it's kind of like
that's what they bonded
enjoy your new home. This is to remember me by, but it's also like remember me, and kind of in a way like remember where you came from to a certain extent. Obviously the relationship between him and Jane is probably one of the more significant relationships in the movie, but his relationship with Ralph Richardson, another beautiful.
That's great. Yeah, when they're going around the house and just all that, and then also how Lambert treats him. The Tarzan character treats him. He gives him the respect. He treats him as a fatherly figure or someone to look up to. And
Richardson has his eye, is sticking up for him too. When they're at the dinner party and he's drinking the soup out of thing. He's like, "You're right. Our spoons are overrated."
Yeah, and then everyone goes along with it. It shows almost like the hypocrisy.
And a lot of really funny moments. Come out of like the fish out of water thing, but also come out of Ralph Richardson's just like beautiful performance. Everything from like him dipping his like shaving brush in the
coffee before he puts it on he puts the stuff on it.
The thing of like the drinking of the soup, to when they're gonna have lunch and there's like that buffet and he's loading up Christopher Lambert's plate, and then Lambert's just like throwing the fish on and like the thing. He's like, you know what, that looks good. I'll have that
I'll
too.
do the same thing. Yeah.
Just a beautiful relationship. So that when, spoiler alert, Ralph Richardson dies, there's like
that whole part. This is we should check off too. This is a Christmas movie. So,
not Christmas. Yeah. Christmas in June.
Christmas in June
and July. This will be July.
Yeah, it'll be 6 months from now. It'll be Christmas, and this is a Christmas movie. But that whole end part where I think he's explaining it to a maid, where a maid is helping him up to his bedroom. Is that it? And Ralph Richardson says how he used to, so he's the house. So of course it's one of these ideas where the house has been in the family for how many years or generations.
He used to slide down the steps on
the steps, the big steep steps, and it has like a landing and then the more steps. And he says he used to take a dinner tray when he was like 5 or 6 and go down the stairs and curve. So at Christmas time, he kind of escapes from the party when they're all dancing and singing along and then having a good old time doing like a waltz, kind of like
weird inner monologue thing going on.
It's like a very much out of a Christmas Carol, when they're dancing around and stuff like that. And he takes the dinner tray and he goes up, or Ralph Richardson does, and he wants to do the same thing again. I'm like, this ain't gonna be a good idea.
Yeah.
And he ends up killing himself. He falls and he hits his head, and it's very sad, but it's so sad, but it's so poignant. It's like,
really, this movie is very much, it's a movie about loss.
Yeah.
It's everybody that Tarzan really cares about, other than Holmes and Jane. He loses, and I think that's what Ellison is kind of referring to with like the reactionary part of it. Like he's not a very he's not an action oriented character. Everything is just happening to him, but in a way, like I like that about this movie. Because
him being the reactionary.
It is like, because that's the way life is for most people. I mean, yes, everybody has their moments of like, I'm going to take life by the balls. I'm going to do, I'm going to go after something. But for the most part, we're all just like floating through it. And we're dealing with the crap that comes with just being alive.
Yeah.
And he's just this poor guy, this like innocent soul that's just being like plucked from his world, thrust into a new one, and he's just trying to kind of keep up. And Christopher Lambert's performance is like so beautiful and funny, and my favorite moments are like, if you go back to like, the scene, like the dance scene in the Christmas party when he's like dancing, like he's like a kid, and that like when he's excited and he can't contain himself, like
he regrets back to ooh.
He starts doing like the ape
sounds.
sounds. Yeah, and it's such like a beautiful touch. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like entirely a Lambert choice. I'm sure it was something that was discussed. Might have even been in the script. I love the scene when it's like in the middle of the night, and he's just like roaming around the house, and he goes down and he rolls onto like the pool table.
Oh yeah, he's rolling around,
and then he's like jumping up against the walls. It's like he's like a caged animal.
Yeah, he's getting his
house.
Like exercise out, and he's like, he's kind of getting back to what he's comfortable with doing. And also how quickly he's able to gain access to the roof, and he's up on top of the roof and he's jumping down, and then there's the scene where. The guy is it the guy who's engaged, the one who has the car? Is he the one who's engaged to?
He wants to be engaged to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He proposes to her, and she's like no, and he's like, well,
fuck you.
Yeah. What's he say? Like, you fucking whore. As David Patrick Kelly would say.
Commando. Commando.
So, you fucking whore. So excuse my language. So when the guy leaves, then he's an asshole to the person who's simple-minded, who's like a person around the house, and Tarzan sees this, and he's on the top of the freaking manor house.
He's gonna spank the guy.
Yeah, he's gonna do, and that goes back to, isn't it? Who was spanking people out in the jungle?
They were gonna spank. They were gonna spank
one of the villagers, or was it Ian Holm, or somebody was gonna?
I think one of the guys. It seemed like they were gonna whip or something.
Oh, is that at the outpost?
At the outpost.
Okay, I'm thinking that earlier on that
they might have done. They might have done that.
Spank like a
It was at the outpost. Somebody at the outpost was spanking one of the villagers.
Yeah, they didn't do it right. One of the village ladies.
Like, no, you're not gonna do that again. No.
Yeah, so it's almost like doling out punishment. So yeah, when this guy who's courting Jane is gonna, the guy didn't do anything wrong.
But he's like honking the horn in his car.
Yeah, he's having fun. It's a horseless carriage, man. Who's that thing? And he's riding around like an asshole. Like, hey, look at me in the car.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Hey,
look at this guy. So he throws the guy against the car, and he's gonna start whipping him with his crop, and then freaking Lambert jumps down like four stories,
throws a giant rock.
Yeah,
dents the back of the car.
Hits the car, dents the freaking the complete hood, or as you would call the boot. It's destroyed. Then he says something, jumps down, and then that's when like Lambert starts throwing like the Frank Welker voice work at him, like he does the lion. Oh, that was also an interesting party.
He's like the guy from.
From the Police Academy movies. We're finishing our own lines tonight. What's his face? Winslow or whatever his name is. Wilcox.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all that. And then and it's also another thing to point out too. It's much like the Elephant Man. What's his name? Merrick.
Yeah.
Joseph Merrick, where he's kind of brought into these situations, Merrick, as the Elephant Man. He's shown off as an oddity, and that's how he's able to get entry into like a civilized or sophisticated society. Now at this dinner party, it's almost like it's like Tarzan is being shown off as, look, he's a
little bit.
Because then he's like show us how you can do. You're able to do impressions. I mean, now he's not put on like go. go get your pipe, your organ.
There is a
and do
little bit
tune.
of like, show us a couple of parlor tricks.
Look, we've domesticated him, so let's see what, you know what I mean? It's almost like P.T. Barnum shit.
Yeah.
And
then, we have the relationship develop between him and Jane. And then it seems like we then flash forward some time. Again.
Yeah.
This movie, there's a lot of jumping forward in this movie because we jump forward in time and it seems like he's even more adapted. He's now kind of become the Earl of Greystoke or whatever, the Lord or Earl of Greystoke.
This is after
Richardson had died.
Richardson dies.
I can't remember if it was when they go to the museum. They're going to go see like the Greystoke Hall by the guy, the museum guy that we were talking about from the expedition earlier in the movie.
He's opening like a new wing of his museum.
Yeah.
All due in large part of the Claytons have, it was all because of them that they were able to open this philanthropic wing of the museum, and it's all very much like the evolution of it's and he even mentions what's his face, Darwin, and it's very much, and it becomes like this other kind of like it's the last nail in the coffin of like, the barbarity of him.
The minute they show up there, it's like, that's not a good idea.
And it's just, he's like looking at all this stuff and it's like.
But at some point, that guy, he's like, I want to congratulate you too. And I can't remember if he says like your nuptials or if it's the engagement. But so now him and Jane are definitely an item at this point. Ian Holm came.
For this event, and that's when he reunites with. He hasn't seen him in so long.
It's like after the funeral. It's after the funeral, and Clayton is, Tarzan is heartbroken over the death of his grandfather, and him and Jane become closer, and they go to this event at the museum, and the guy's showing off with like, the museum guy with such pride is showing off all these stuffed animals and stuff.
And he's the man that we commented before was all about just wanting to dissect almost literally Tarzan. He's like, we need to study him, in this part, who was on the original
with Ian
expedition with Ian Holm, but he got away.
And, Tarzan can't take it.
Yeah.
So he kind of sneaks away and he starts to hear things. He's outside. He hears things from another room, and he walks in. It's like the hall. It's like the room, like the laboratory of anatomy.
Yeah, it's like almost like an amphitheater where they can do dissection for class. And he goes in the back, and he
walks in, and there's
all these lab animals.
And there's an ape being dissected. Open, chest like broken open, and splayed out. And there's monkeys in the cages, and then he sees that there's this ape. A large ape in a cage. And
isn't there even like a child chimpanzee being dissected on a table?
Yeah,
as well?
there's a dead baby.
like a baby in it, and it's also it's got like the proper cuts so that they have the the dissection. So then he hears noises. He pulls a blanket back and he recognizes it's his freaking dad.
It's his ape father,
who
we kind of mentioned earlier in the cast that his ape father.
Got pushed out of by the alpha male the one who killed Tarzan's real parents in that fit of rage when he discovered him in the treehouse.
So his ape father left the group, before Tarzan did even. So it's been even longer than he hasn't seen him.
Yeah. And they instantly recognize each other. So the implications there are that he was, captured by hunters, brought here and then he's not even going to be in a circus. He's going to most certainly be, dissected, and have a horrible fate. And they instantly recognize each other. And you could tell, doesn't he have the father have scars on him? Looks like he's been treated horribly. It's very sad going down that road again of Jesus, men and humanity are fucking assholes. So Tarzan's able to, I don't know how he does that, but he's able to just rip open the freaking the cage.
Well, there's why did the monkey do that? But you could argue that at that point the ape's broken.
Yeah.
He's like a broken soul.
Yeah, of course he was. He's completely. He's almost like come to terms with his fate, and this is I guess you could see from a script writing point of view that it's where you tack this on near the end, this whole episode, because it's like you're really beating the audience over the head with freaking humanity's assholes, they're assholes, and then you have this last part where he gets his father out, they jump down, they come out in the street. And he completely, I guess, reverts to Lambert, to being an ape. He's yelling at people. He's following the father around. Constables get around. They start ringing their bells, whistles. More people are around, and then it they go up a tree in like I think we're in London at this point, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So they go up a tree in like Hyde Park or someplace, and then like the next thing is the one of the constables blows.
Well, they're reaching for each other.
Oh Jesus, guys! Lambert and his monkey father are.
Yeah.
And then one of the constables has a rifle down on the bottom of the tree, and he shoots him right in the freaking chest. And then again, we see this epic fall, just like at the beginning with the baby chimp on the rock.
Yeah.
He falls. They show us him hitting the ground. It's like, it's like King Kong, and then he.
Yeah, it's such a.
And that's another movie where it's like, I in the past couple years I've become such like an animal lover because I have an animal. I just got a cat, and like I don't even know if I can watch King Kong now because that's so sad at the end of King Kong just wants to go home, man. He wants to go back to freaking Monster Island, Skull Island.
I mean, it's such a tragic scene, and the thing is, like, how it's gonna end.
Yeah,
like,
it's not gonna end
would,
well.
even like as they're leaving, somebody comes up to the museum guy inside the museum, and he's like,
"Just gone down.
This shit going down outside.
You gotta go outside."
So they go outside,
and there's people screaming.
And as they approach, Ian Holm kind of says under his breath, he just says to himself, like, "Please don't do this, John." Like what's fucking gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then the ape gets killed. And of course,
Lambert jumps down,
and he was my father.
Yeah, it's almost like that James Dean from Rebel Without a Cause, like I got the bullets. When Sal Mineo gets killed. It's so sad, and it's so like sad. And then because he jumps down from the tree? Don't they exchange a moment? And he dies in his arms. And it's just like
they do this. He does this thing, and it's done like every time Lambert where. You can tell. I mean, it's like a primal thing that you can imagine monkeys doing. So obviously, that's why he does it. But it is very. He does it with Ralph Richardson, where he's like he picks up his hand and like puts it on his head, and he does it to his mother ape when she dies.
It's almost like this because a lot of apes to show affection and stuff. They'll groom each other. They'll pull stuff out, and it's almost like. It's almost like not forcing intimacy, but hey,
Well, even when he finds his ape father in the cage,
they do it.
He starts like grooming him.
Yeah, a little bit taking stuff off, and that's how people these animals bond.
Yeah,
as they sit for hours on end, like grooming each other or cleaning shit off their fur. Or, it's almost like how a cat or a dog will lick himself.
And then it's like. It's really kind of like it's kind of like it is like the last straw. The next scene is basically Jane, Ian Holmes' character, and the museum guy arguing about like what's going to happen, like what are they going to do with him?
Yeah.
Like, and I think Ian Holmes is the one that's like, well, he's a man. Like,
let him make the decision.
Yeah, like let him decide.
And at this point, I don't think
he's like, well, we have to study him, blah blah blah, all this crap. And Jane's just like, I just want whatever's gonna make him happy.
Yeah.
She's like, even if it's not being with me, I just want him to be happy.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, and he does this thing.
Christopher Lambert, yeah.
Yeah, jumps over the sofa, touches the dogs, and walks over. And he's like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And
he's already made the decision. And I don't know. I think at this point, it's interesting because how much he loved Ralph Richardson's character. He is kind of turning his back on that estate, but he can't help but do that because of, he's never going to be happy there.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder if he's going to now, is he still the executor of the estate or is he betrothing that to somebody else or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? Because it's also like the museum guy kind of needs the estate for the because they're the one that's funding the research probably.
The guy's like, you have to stay. You're the Earl of Greystoke. And
yeah.
he's like, well, half of me is the Earl of Greystoke, and the other half.
He'd be the seventh Earl because Ralph Richardson played the sixth Earl of Greystoke.
Is savage and it's that scene of like that scene is like the. 'Tis beauty that killed the beast.
Yeah.
It's
what
like
dreams
that,
are made of.
It's that. You see Jane and Ian Holmes' love for him, and they're wanting him to be happy, and even though if that means losing him, that's. Like, so be it. So then we have like really kind of like the finality of the movie is they go back. We see them at the waterfall.
Yeah, they go all the way back in the jungle.
Earlier in the movie, in the jungle. Now, this is another part where I feel like there's some holes here. Like this is as much as I love the movie. This scene is not as impactful as it could have been.
The ending, this little last bit where
there's just something
like the goodbye to humanity.
Yeah, because it's like there's something missing. It's like, it's Ian Holm, Jane, and Tarzan, and then Tarzan looks over and sees the apes in the woods, and then there's not even of a stripping of clothes. It's just like the next scene is like footage from earlier in the movie of him like running to them.
Yeah, and
it's
and
like
it was
pointed
out to me.
We didn't get it. We didn't get the footage we need.
Yeah, it was pointed out to me too, where I think it's like even his hair is different. Like, it's like the continuity is really off because, like you said, they're probably just using earlier
There's
footage.
no like saying goodbye.
There should have been.
them.
Yeah, you really could have had this nice like coda there, where you could have had like again a tear-jerking, poignant goodbye. But I know now why you cry, but it's something I cannot do. That kind of a thing. It's like. One of those events, you're terminated, fucker, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's just something. It's like a missed opportunity, unfortunately. I feel for me.
Yeah.
With the end of this movie, because so much of the movie is so beautiful.
Well, they talk about that the movie originally was going to be like I don't know, something ridiculous. The length that they wanted it to be originally was 180 minutes long. Yeah. So they cut that. What is that? 45 minutes they cut out of the movie to make it 2 hours and 15 minutes, or maybe less. So. They said a lot of roles that were big parts originally were cut down to minor roles or cut out entirely. So I wonder if, again, a lot of this stuff that, because sometimes, for me, overall, the movie, like the pacing, it's like it's at moments slow. And it's interesting that for 84 or 83, there was that pacing as well. So I don't know if they were just working with what they had, that they're trying to, like, cut the movie down, and as well as the changes that they made from Towns' script. So, who knows, like they're just tacking on the ending, and then the next scene is like, like you said, he's around with the monkeys, like he's never left.
Yeah.
And then we cut to that one last shot of the beautiful matte
basically
painting.
He leaves Ian Holm and Jane, and
they pull back, you see her, she's wearing the classic Jane outfit that you see Jane always, with the white.
And there's the thought umbrella. That like he can't be happy in her world, and she won't survive in his world. But it's like you have to. There's just, like I said, there's a beat missing.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, there's
something.
No reason they could have.
Even if it's just like he sees them, he looks back at them, and there's like a shared look.
They give him the old thumbs up,
and then we see him running, and as he's running, he's like shedding his civilization, shedding his clothes symbolically, like turning back.
We're gonna have to do a re-edit on it. Just get that. We just need a beat in there.
But aside from just a few of these kind of like weird holes and missed opportunities, I really, like I said, this movie's always been kind of like a very special movie to me. And
it's interesting where also where it sits in the years of time for Warner Brothers. Like, we had Superman come out in 77, is it? Donner's Superman?
Yeah, I think so.
And that was huge. And then,
no, that might be 79. The first one?
Is the first one 79? I thought it was
Star Wars is 77.
Okay, then maybe it's 79. And then we should know this stuff, but we have so much. We have so much on the brain.
It's 79.
And then, you have like, they're starting to do these because you end up, it culminates with Batman in 89. That's Warner as well. Yeah. So they're looking at these kind of properties. And then, like, for them to do a Tarzan movie, even though a Tarzan movie had been done in 81, that you see, you kind of like, okay, maybe we could start looking at either pulps or old, Spider-Man for a minute. Cannon may have done a Spider-Man in the 80s. So they were looking for these stories. So it's interesting to see where that they're doing, like, this kind of a movie. And I'm sure at this time you had a Flash Gordon movie that came out that flopped.
Yeah.
And there might be something else that Indiana Jones was, of course, doing gangbusters.
Yeah.
So that they go and they get a Tarzan movie and they do it and it comes out in 84.
It's a good point. They're bringing up the Indiana Jones thing.
And at the same time there was a couple of Quartermain movies with Richard Chamberlain. I saw one of them, the one with Sharon Stone. I saw that one in the theater with maybe Lou Gossett Jr.'s in that. And then there's like, Firewalker or even King Kong Lives, like in 86.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have a lot of these movies, these, go into the jungle kind of movies. So maybe in comic book movies. So, they were looking for what was adaptable at that time for audiences.
It's an interesting, there's that.
Because we've touched upon that multiple times on this podcast,
and
with
it's
Batman
an interesting
and Dick Tracy and all
take
them.
to kind of go with like a much more of like a Victorian costume, like epic, with it. You know, giving it kind of, in a way, doing what they kind of tried to do with, Batman to a certain extent, like the serious Batman, even though, like, looking back on it, it's still kind of comic booky.
Yeah, but
today's stand, looking back on it now, but at the time it was like that was a very serious Batman.
I mean, personally, I'll argue that to the end, which we do in the Batman cast. Hey, speaking of the Batman cast, you gave me this 6 hours ago, the Batman thing from the program, but it's certainly how they even make the Batman be like a homage to like Warner gangster movies, as well as like that era, the golden era. So they kind of put Batman back in when he was kind of developed by Bob Kane, like 38, 39, but at the same time being it modern. So it is, I guess, significant. I didn't even think of that they didn't modernize it. They didn't have it turn into like, nowadays people, that could have been, he could have been like, like a King Kong story, where they're bringing him to the real world and he flips out and he goes to the top of the building and they got to talk him down, But you're right. They kept him like, let's keep him period. Let's keep him Victorian era to a certain extent, when the character was supposed to be based upon, and then also you have young Sherlock Holmes.
Oh,
that's 85, 86.
That's
so
a classic.
And then at the same time during the 80s, you had, I forget the gentleman who played, Sherlock Holmes on in England that showed up on our A&E or PBS here. Those were going Jeremy something. So like these properties were being not recycled, but new life was breathed into them. So it's interesting that this came out.
I'm a big fan of young Sherlock Holmes too.
I know you are. That's going to be another one.
We'll have to get that.
So let's see. They thought about Viggo Mortensen being cast in this as Christopher Lambert, but that didn't. They ended up casting.
That would have been really early for him.
Yeah. Well, what year is Leatherface? Is that 86 or 87?
I would have said that was even later than that. I would have said that was like 80, maybe 88, 89. I would have thought.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like
he very well could have been around. I mean, no.
Let's see. For her, they had a whole bunch of people they wanted to they looked at to play her.
What If game?
Yeah, the What If game. They originally, for the Lord Esker, what is he, the asshole? They had Hugh Grant, and he was, I think they may have even cast him, but then the director wanted to go more middle-aged, not younger man, and that's when they cast James Fox in the role. Let's see. There are a whole bunch of people that I can't find the note I had about who the other people were that they had originally for her, but they had they thought of Richard Gere, Rupert Everett, Lambert Wilson were considered for Tarzan. So they end up doing the movie that has a $46 million budget, which you alluded to. $7 million of that $46 million goes to the Rick Baker stuff. And Rick Baker, his ape suits had like arm extensions in it too, so they can take out different arms. So they'd have one scene where the arms are the apes are walking on their hands, and then they had a great.
Well, this was like really Rick Baker's first big, big in terms of enormity of the project. So many suits and stuff.
Yeah,
it was kind of a monumental film.
And it's also, you see the evolution of him doing the ape effects, because I certainly think. Personally, that when he gets to Gorillas in the Mist, then that is, those silverbacks, you can't even tell some of them, or people are inside or they're animatronic, because again, this is all pre-CGI. So even though he did invent like a sub race of primates here, they look great.
They do look great,
and they don't look like you said, like as good as 2001 is. Those apes or those monkeys at the beginning kind of look like people in costumes, you know what I mean? So it was good that they were at the beginning saying, hey, that was the thing that was hanging up the script, And then you don't want to sacrifice that, take that out.
And
that
he was
aspect.
nominated for Academy Award for the suits, but I believe he lost to Amadeus, so he lost to Dick Smith.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I guess
for the old makeup.
And that was Dick Smith's kind of game. Dick Smith pioneered like the old man.
Yeah,
makeup.
They kind of were both like working in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, and it's like almost like if Tom Savini was like nominated for like Head Explosion. You know what I mean?
And for a greatest head explosion,
Tom Savini for Maniac, or I don't know if where there's another head explosion. This ended up getting nominated for, like we said, for Best Supporting Role because Richard
posthumously for Richard
Ralph
Richardson.
Richardson died like 4 months after the movie, or maybe before it was about to come out. So they dedicated the movie to him, and then he was posthumously nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Another sleepover movie, isn't he in Dragon Slayer? I think he's like the older wizard.
He might be. He might be in Dragon Slayer.
If I'm not mistaken.
I get in that era. You had like a lot of these, and I'm not in any way saying that Mr. Richardson did this for this part, but you had a lot of older people doing roles for money. So I see like a lot of like Sir John Gielgud at that time, Alec Guinness, certainly Laurence Olivier was, they're just taking paycheck. You know what I mean? Sometimes the movies are really good, but other times they weren't. They were just like he was taking a paycheck. Yeah. So I always get my elder English actors of that time, mixed up of who's who in which movie. So I don't remember exactly who was in.
Them. I'm not positive. But.
And then so the movie comes out, like you said, kind of, lukewarm to warm, mixed reviews. It was positive. It played in East Germany, and then there's a line in it about when he's talking to Ralph Richardson about the walls, and he says the walls come up around the estate to keep them out. And that caused a huge roar in the audience, to the East German audiences, so much so that afterward they omitted the line from other screenings because at the time, of course, it was the Berlin Wall at the time, And so it comes out, and this is also a movie that was shot on Super 35.
Yeah.
Which was called then Super Technoscope.
Yeah.
But Super 35 that's
it's got to be extra wide. I mean, it's got to be the 235, but in a different process.
Yeah,
I would imagine. I mean, because like I can only imagine it's the same as Super 16, which is what Super 16 is usually a piece of film has sprocket holes on both sides.
Yeah.
Super 16 was sprockets holes on only one side, so that you could put the optical soundtrack on the other side.
Yeah.
But if you didn't, it was a way to get, if you didn't put the optical audio track over that other side of sprocket holes, you could expose that film, and that's how you would get a widescreen ratio with a 16 millimeter frame. So I can only imagine that maybe that's the same thing going on here with 35, which is you get a wider frame aspect ratio by exposing more of the film.
So in the old days, what Blake is saying, that it's sometimes, if you're
in
doing
my own
a cheap
convoluted
movie,
way.
no, it's just in the weeds there for like people who aren't, technical.
Imagine a piece of film.
Yeah, well, 35 millimeter would be a lot of money, so 16 millimeter is smaller, of course, but you can't play 16 millimeter in theaters at the time because they're made for 35. So if people like you take Tobe Hooper, who did, didn't he do Texas Chainsaw Massacre like this?
He might have done 16.
He shoots at Super 16 , so if you on the right side where
for example, I mean, we don't know for sure. I don't know.
I thought he shot.
He may have, but
I thought he did it this way. But people used to do is if you had a small budget, is you can take Super 16 on the right side where there's no sprocket holes where people would have an optical track, which a lot of times that would be a way to marry. Because at the old days, film is film, and then you'd have to have something else and sync it to have audio. So the next step in the evolution was you'd have it married on the picture itself
to make a print with an optical track, so that it would play through the projector.
And this is in the old days, like news in the 60s and 70s, they'd shoot these kind of things because you can get film and sound at the same time, put it right on your camera you're using with a microphone. So if you don't use that for audio, you expose that side, you can then blow it up and it'd be the size of 35.
Yeah. You have a wider screen ratio, and then they would blow it up to a 35 millimeter.
It would somehow work. If you can blow Super 16 up to fit in the 35
I mean,
millimeter
you lose
print.
a little bit of the quality, but it was a cheaper way of shooting. You sacrifice quality for cost.
And then that means your movie, you could shoot the movie kind of cheaper on a Super 16, and then you can have it play in 35 millimeter projector theaters, which is what the standard at the time.
Yeah. So we're just assuming that by calling it Super 35, you're basically getting even wider aspect ratio.
So I wonder if that would then blow it up to 70. Would it be?
I don't know.
What that means that they can able to do. But I can only imagine, much like when you're shooting 70 millimeter, that it would be clunkier. And what is Was it a sleepover movie we did where they were talking about this is the first movie shot? There's only a couple times when they've was it, I forget, maybe it was something recently I read. Maybe it was Reverend or something recent where they dug out the old cameras and they haven't shot a movie.
Well, I know.
What am I thinking of?
The Quentin Tarantino movie shot.
That's what it is. So maybe the story was that Quentin Tarantino actually dug out the cameras to shoot it properly on 70 millimeter. He did something, and they hadn't done it since like the early 70s.
Yeah.
So when he went in to rent the equipment, he realized, well, why don't I just rent all the equipment? We can update it, but maybe he used the lens. I forget what he did. So I wonder here if this is like something that people don't normally shoot on Super 35, if they're able to blow it up to 70. I don't know. But my point is, convoluted as it is I wonder if that made everything bulkier. Maybe the equipment a little harder when they were shooting stuff, even though they were, I guess, they weren't on location. They weren't,
I don't know.
Piggybacking
right,
off a
I don't
mountain.
know the purpose of shooting Super 35. If we have what Super 35 is.
I guess we should have looked into that a little more.
Instead of 20 minutes trying to explain it, I know what the hell it's called.
Rick Baker had a 50-person crew, 40 wig makers, doing all this stuff, and it took about 8 weeks per suit to make. So you think if it takes 8 weeks to do one suit, how long? That's why he's going to do 2 years to make 50 suits or whatever. How many suits are in the movie?
Because then you have stunt suits plus the A suits or whatever.
Yeah, they got actors who were like gymnasts and stuff,
and
dancers to be the apes themselves. They had a great circus performers, dancers, and gymnasts and they trained 8 hours a day for several months to play the apes. And wherever they filmed the movie, the studio next door, they had a workout gym with ramps and mock trees and limbs and nets, so if they fall, so they can get it right. Because there's certain sequences where even Lambert himself is like, they're jumping on stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's, I'm sure since all that stuff's on a set, you can probably, you can't see because it's disguised from the camera, but I'm sure there's handholds and stuff like that. But it's great to see, like, it looks very effortlessly how
they also, Baker made them, like cheaper because I was even looking into trying to get one of these from the auction that I was talking about 6 hours ago at the beginning of this podcast. Like masks they still look great, but they weren't camera masks. They were used by the actors to like take home and like work on the ape stuff in the mirror.
Oh,
so they were like
their character.
So like there was no expressions. They couldn't do any kind of expression, but it was a way of like getting them used to the ape head and get them to like work in the mirror.
What did we do that was a cast where they had to have the wait for the... that was another podcast we did where they had to talk about the wait time for the actors to go home and be able to learn the characterizations of something, whatever we did that was like animal related or alien related. I forget what that was. Anyway, but that reminded me of something that we did. We talked about that.
Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, and then that's basically it. Then the movie comes out all right. They had an alternate ending that they I guess they shot, but then they didn't like, where Jane runs off into the jungle with Tarzan. They cut it during the editing phase, and they don't know if a print still exists of that. So that's like lost footage. And
maybe that's why the ending is so choppy.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe that was the original ending.
Yeah,
and they didn't like it, so then they tried to.
Jane runs off into the jungle, and then it was cut during the editing, and no one knows if it still exists. That very well could be it. And then they also cut it down from 180 minutes. Yeah. So I mean that could be.
Yeah, but it seems like that would have been where they take it from.
Yeah, exactly, as opposed to everything else. And then they had a sequel kind of plan, but then since it was kind of poor box office, they didn't end up doing a sequel for the movie. And then if they'd been true and gone back to the source material of Burroughs, they had a whole well of stories and stuff like that. So this must be big on your buckets of pizzas.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd say as a sleepover movie, I don't think this is very. As a sleepover movie, I wouldn't give it that many buckets of pizza. I just don't think it's like I don't think like a junior high kid would enjoy this as a sleepover movie with their friends.
But I wonder if at the time it was something you would.
As a movie, I'd give it 4 or 5. Yeah. It's problematic, so I would give it 4 as much as I love it out of 5. But as a sleepover movie, I don't know. It's more of a, for the lack of a better term, it's more of like a real film.
Yeah.
Not and I don't say that as like disparaging the kind of more fun sleepover fare that we do. It's just a different kind of movie altogether.
See, I wonder if it was something that when we were growing up that we would go seek out because of the era.
No, I think it's the kind of movie that our dads would have rented and we would have watched with them.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you would have.
Because I think certainly now I
fucking Greystoke.
If
we did, I think it would be like we would have done it under the premise of that it would have been like this action.
Yeah,
movie.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you don't know.
And then
it is like a bait and switch, like falling
like,
asleep.
What?
What the hell's going on here? But I wonder if certainly now since Tarzan hasn't been into the modern society that we know it, aside from maybe a cartoon or Disney.
I mean, be someone who had never really seen it in terms of even aside from the sleepover star rating. I mean, what did you think? I mean, did you enjoy it?
I thought the pacing was slow at times, and then I thought it was choppy at certain points. But then certainly on an analytical level, it's there's really just it was some of the stuff was horrible how it made you feel. Just like the really just juxtaposing the two different society civilization verse this. So I enjoyed that. I mean, it had a lot. It's like the thinking man's Tarzan, if it's really what Edgar Rice had originally done, and that's why he ended up having 20 books,
Yeah.
Because it's really it's not an action movie, and that's maybe the good thing about it. I don't know if people went there thinking you're gonna, maybe that's why I didn't do well. You think you're going to see a freaking Tarzan movie. You see him beating up monkeys and crocodiles and, very much Jana of the Jungle kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting that, it gives you this story of this, like you were saying, this tragedy, and then, this poor guy can't win,
Yeah. I mean, it's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very much
and it doesn't pull any punches. I mean, there's scenes I don't know, what's the darn thing rated? I mean, I don't think it was rated R, but it's the scene at the beginning when the freaking baby apes killed. We see all this when that asshole hunter's shooting everything. You're seeing all that, and it's just the brutality of it. It's it's horrible. It's very much like that What's the baby dinosaur movie from the mid '80s?
Oh, Babe,
yeah,
Baby.
It's that I saw that when I was little, and that
I saw that at the theater,
and that was terrifying because there's a scene where again we have asshole hunters killing. What are they killing? The mother dinosaur's mom or something at the beginning, and that's so that's horrifying. So it's maybe that's the reason why I didn't want to watch this. It's I can't take any more baby killing.
I don't know. The pacing doesn't bother me so much, but the things, the parts that are choppy are definitely kind of stick out.
Yeah.
As being something that just kind of missed it a little bit with those parts.
Yeah.
But Sleepover Stars then?
Me, I'd say probably maybe 3-3.
Yeah.
3-3 as a movie, and then 3 as a sleepover movie, because I don't know, it kind of goes into the fare of what I like growing up. But I think it certainly I would have, if I had rented it, it would have been like a bait and switch. I got home, what the fuck is that?
What are you doing?
Well, Karen, what the hell? We needed that money, Karen. But it's what the this isn't action at all,
Yeah.
So
I don't even know if we were to give recommendations.
I have a recommendation, comic book recommendation that was brought to my attention, which I like. Warren Ellis, who is a big legendary comic book writer, he did a 28 to 30 issue series, which is ended called Planetary, and it comes very, very highly recommended. What it's about is this planetary society at the turn of the century when they're secret archaeological teams that go and find things, very much Indiana Jones and stuff. But what it is like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen took people we knew and made a team out of them. Yeah. This thing is, they're called different names, but all the archetypes we know from that era, like Quartermains and stuff, are clearly represented. And what it is these people coming together and doing this nice, adventure. So in book form, I would say go check out this Planetary, this Warren Ellis series. And we love Warren Ellis, the writer. Movie wise, I don't know. For at the time, I don't want to go say like King Kong Lives or something, but I'm wondering what at the time I very much like The Mission, that movie that with Robert De Niro in it, Jeremy Irons. I mean that's a slow movie, but that's fun. Yeah. It's more of the same.
You
kind
could
of
also go the other route and go with the Flash Gordon.
Yeah, if you want to go
it's a totally different kind of movie, but still playing off of that serial.
Yeah,
adaptation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly a much campier than this movie is, but
yeah, but it's the other end of the pulps. It's the fantasy. I mean,
it's around
certainly
that era.
a big
Era.
Certainly at the time,
It's around that era.
as much as the pulps of like the adventure pulps of like westerns or us talking about the Far East, people were curious about space. So there's all tons of stuff, very much like John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
You know, where like John Carter of Mars is weird. Where I think he's a Civil War veteran and he's running away and he like hides in a cave and he wakes up and he's on.
He's just like magically teleported.
You know, so people are like, you know, was it just him like getting high on peyote fumes, or is he like, you know, really on these, you know, these weird adventures, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it goes back to my original point. It's a shame that 2012 movie bombed. You know, it's like they're doing faithful adaptations to a certain extent of these, you know, properties that people should know what they are because of what they, you know, the doors they open for us, and you know, and they're not. So it's like, you know, hopefully this new Tarzan movie coming out this weekend is going to be A, good, and 2, you know, make some money.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think
that'd be nice.
thematically,
You know, and it could be a right time because that other movie just came out, and I thought people were going to see it. Jungle Book.
oh yeah,
You know, people were digging on that, you know, and so it's like, you know, that's Disney too, and
Sure.
and it's another thing where I just heard they greenlit they're remaking freaking Mary Poppins.
yeah.
You know, so like now you're going to see any Disney property they ever had, be it live action or animated, is going to get a live action reboot now. You know?
I think thematically, if you're in for a long night and you want to go completely serious, I think thematically a good movie to watch alongside with this would be something like Dances with Wolves,
That's true.
which you know, I think touches, you know, some of the same chords and
Or Apocalypse Now, like I brought up earlier. Maybe that'd be my recommendation. Go Apocalypse Now, because it's a movie set in the Vietnam era. But no, you know what? That's actually interesting.
Heart of Darkness.
That's based on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which goes back into, that was the era that this Tarzan takes place in.
Yeah.
Where it's about the ivory trade in Africa, down the river there.
Which we see a little bit of that going on.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
Outposts.
exactly. So like it's very much in that era of the you know the Western civilization going plowing through there. But Apocalypse Now is then translated, that story's put into Vietnam War, but it's not about Vietnam specifically, as it's just about
Just
war
the
in general.
backdrop.
Yeah. So that's a very good, you know, and it keeps a lot of the themes of that alienation going to the ends of the earth and then going into being decivilized. So yeah, maybe Apocalypse Now. That's heavy though. You know, you're watching.
That's
you know, you can't have your 8-year-old go watch this movie and then go watch Apocalypse Now. You know, so
It's a tough night.
there's that word heavy again. So
What is it?
yeah,
The gravitational problems of the future.
oof. So thank you very much for listening tonight. This was a fun cast. This is very much a summer movie. You know, this is a very summer actiony. What year was when was this released? I wonder if this was if this came out
Summer '84.
March 30th, 84. We're getting there.
Springish,
Yeah.
late winter, early spring.
So when this was released, so check it out if you, maybe this will be fun for people. You know, I certainly had, you know, seen this movie in years, and that's why I was like, shit, you know, I've never seen it, so I never thought about this in 20 years. Let's do this.
Yeah. I've seen this movie a million times. Like I said, it's
a tearjerker for you.
It's a good one for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
This movie's always kind of just struck a chord. So.
And what do you call it? I'll have to, next cast, I'll tell you about the other thing I was talking, the Tommy Westphal syndrome, because it's related to the Walt Newton family thing. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Funny enough, I was thinking, when the hell could I bring it up in a cast? Because I wanted to tell you about it, much like you hit me to My Little Pony, the Brony thing, live on a cast. I was going to hit you to this, but
No, I mean, it's kind of wacky. I never heard of that.
and that the Walt Newton family thing is very interesting, and this is and I brought it up directly because it was about reference with what's
totally.
his face, Philip Jose Farmer. I just had spitting it out was a problem, but Tommy Westphal is a whole different thing that completely related to that, but I'll talk to you about that next time.
Right.
So check out our Facebook page, check out our Twitter page, check out our MySpace page. Check out I'm kidding, we don't have a MySpace page. Check out our website. Check out Blake Has Scored to Death Out. Coming out, it's a book.
Coming out. Looks like we're doing a signing in California at the end of August.
Nice.
So stay tuned.
Go
we
as in you. The collective we.
Yeah, collective we. Sorry.
The editorial
maybe
we.
I'll drag Dion out there. Too.
Yeah.
We'll do a podcast.
And check out his Score to Death Facebook page.
Yes, Facebook
and
and
his
Twitter,
Twitter
Score
page.
to Death.
Yep.
Updates and whatnot.
About it coming out, because then you can pre-order it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And check all of our stuff out. Check out our other podcasts. Check out our website, please. We have a lot of extras that come up in the podcast, which are fun.
And welcome all our new listeners.
Yeah, if you're out there listening, welcome.
And if you've been here before, thanks for sticking around.
Hey, thanks for having you come back in. Come on back in. You can put your shoes on. Don't worry. You don't need to take them off. So we'll see you in 2 weeks with some fun movies. We got some more other surprises lurking in the shadows.
We're jumping into summer.
Yeah, gonna have some summer fun. Summer Saturdays.
Some summer solstice.
Yeah, summer solstice Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. So that'll be very nice. So take care. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Later.